Yeah. I'm at Grace Church Road. I went to Waynesboro to bring this man down to this address, and now he's trying to force his way into a house. I'm afraid to move my vehicle. Just like in there.
It's inside the house now?
Yeah.
You have your doors locked?
It's open. I'm in a van.
You need to make yourself safe, okay? Even if you've got to drive away from there to get away from him and close that and lock that door. Do that for me now, please.
Okay, wait a minute.
All right. Hey, guys. Hello. What is today? Wednesday?
Hey everyone.
Wednesday.
Hello.
Happy
Today is Wednesday,
Wednesday.
May 24th.
I just lose track of myself. Anyways, Alexza, Alexa's streaming live from her vehicle. And Alexza,
my vehicle.
Yeah. Want to tell everybody what you were just telling us about your internet?
My God. I haven't had internet, I think, for the past 2 days. My kids are having withdrawals. Like, I literally have to take them to the park every day to make them forget that their internet exists. And yesterday, they've been working on the cable since like 3 a.m. They can't figure it out because there's like 3 or 4 houses that were having the same problem. And apparently, they just found the issue. And apparently, I think hopefully the squirrels, some critters ate the fabric optic. So thanks to the squirrels, I don't have internet. So first world problems, right? So,
Yeah.
Oh God, but I mean, who knew that you would miss internet so much? I mean, literally, all your life is like packed in internet.
Mm-hmm. I felt like it was like, when you're camping, because you're there for the purpose of camping. But I'm not going to lie. There's moments there where I was like, oh, I'm just going to go on no internet, But I mean, and that was only for like a couple days, but it felt like forever, really. Like as soon as when we left, I was like, and I think we were in a certain part of Kilowak at the Vetter part of it, where I was like, ding, 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 ding. Oh, I got internet. It was about 20 minutes away from where we were that there was the internet kicked back in again. And I'm just like, oh, okay. So, and then of course the whole drive back home, I was like, to my mother-in-law, okay, mother, here you go, pictures, videos, all that, because she was probably having a Kibi Kanibi, type of thing, because she's a worry wart too, yeah,
Well, power went out the other night. I was staying at my family's house, and the power went out, and the internet was out, and they live like out in the, so I'm not in the city, so I don't know what else is going on. So I was like, I was like, there's been a cyber attack. There's no lights. There's nothing. And like, I didn't know what to do with myself. I couldn't have internet, and my phone wasn't working right. I was like, and I had like 3 episodes of a podcast downloaded, and I was forced to listen to those.
that was the only thing I could do on my like iPad, was just anything that I had downloaded, I could listen to. So I did that the one night, but then that's when my husband came in and was like, you know, yelling at this guy, like, "What are you doing in our camp? Like, get the heck out," type of thing. And I was like, well, it ended that rather quickly. But anyways, yeah. So thanks, Alexa, for going into your vehicle so that you could be here. Because I really,
You're welcome.
I was, yeah, and I know, and also, I mean, I told the Drunk Turkey Show too that if they, whenever they end their stream, if they want to pop on here, if they have some time, to feel free. Daniel said he wasn't positive, but they might. But so, anyways, just so you guys know, if you do happen to see them pop on, it that's because I had said, because maybe they had some questions for Alexa or something as well. Tonight, you guys of course, we're going to dive into the Bryan Kohberger thing. Obviously, he just was, had his, what do you want to call, what is that called exactly?
An arraignment?
I was going to say, was that the right word? I was going to say arraignment. Yeah. That was the right word. And of course, the attorney basically did a stand silent or whatever it's called. And so that the judge had to say not guilty. So I am going to play a clip in a few minutes here, but it's really just going to be of Bryan Kohberger's face. I don't like, meaning the judge is talking, but I, of course, want Alexa to really look at his, right here, especially on his cheeks.
Jaw.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. As he's like clenching his jaw, it looks like. And then at one point I actually thought that he was chewing gum because he was doing like this weird mouth movement. I
think he was chewing his cheek.
Yeah. It was like, and it reminded me of almost like, I'm sorry to say this, but it reminded me of a little bit of a meth head when they got no teeth left and they're, type of idea. But I thought, well, maybe he's chewing gum or got a mint, or I don't know. But anyways, Sharon Parker, thank you for becoming a member again. Shelly's in the house. And well, we'll get into something in a second before we get started as well. Virgo 22. Hey, Virgo, Fibro, Streamlabs. It's a crime and shame. Thank you for showing up. It's a crime and shame. It was only because, you guys, I was finishing recording something. So I just needed a few more moments. That's why we were running just a couple minutes late there. Ray Jones is in the house. And let's see here. Diana. Hi, Diana. How are you? Oh, Mustang's in the house. I think I said Virgo. Yeah, I did say Virgo.
Yeah, I can't see the chat because my other mobile, I forgot to, I was charging and then my kids disconnected it. So
it's all good. I'll just pop up anything, or we'll just pop up whatever.
Alexa, you might end up liking being in your car. You probably got peace and quiet out there.
Yeah, right. I'm just laughing because I never, nobody is ever out. Like, this is very tranquil. Nobody's there. And now I've seen 3 neighbors already. I'm like, oh Lord, I'm like, get in your house.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you outside? It's not even garbage day. I'm like, shum, go back.
Oh.
It's not Friday.
One second here. Is this the right one? Oh yeah. So this is what I feel about. I know you haven't seen one of these in a while, have you?
It's been a while.
Oh God.
Right. I know. I'm pretending like I'm Bryan Kohberger. I'm a little bit nutty, a little bit crazy. I'm a little bit rock and roll. Okay. So if you happen to see that sometimes, I was like playing with it and I'm like thinking about Bryan Kohberger and I'm like, because I can't tell you enough how many times people keep saying that he's weird, that he's like a nut job and something like that. Anyways, we'll go back to my regular self. Okay, fine. Fine. But you guys know it. I was playing with the popcorn one as well earlier today. And my husband just kind of come home and I was like, pop. Anyways, okay. Before we get started into that, you guys, I'm just going to say, okay, so obviously you guys, Adam had murder sheets on his channel the other day. Nice little turnout there, a little over a couple hundred, I think it was. Tell Alexa to lock her doors and drive away if she has to.
Yeah, my doors are always locked.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But yes, so like I said, Murder Sheets was on there. I know that they were on Fox 59 News, and another one or whatever. So Adam,
And I think they were on Core TV last night as well.
yes, I seen Court TV upload. I'm not sure if were they actually on it. Maybe
Yeah,
there was a
I
couple
think
that they
so.
said, but you know,
I'm glad that Core TV and Fox 59 could have my sloppy seconds, but
um, yeah, I'm just looking down there and I see a notification come in and it said, remember that Gabby Petito thing where it was burn after read? Gonna have to look at that today because I've seen it, but I haven't looked at it yet on there. But anyways, Adam, just quickly, so like I said, last time I looked, you had like 3.7K views on it.
Good.
Again, and you probably gained about 100 subs, I think, total too as well. Because when I pop over there, it's easy to see it.
yeah,
And
I was really appreciative that Kevin and Anya came on,
Yeah.
and I thought it was a good interview. I mean, I thought, I was appreciative of everything they had to say, and I was really appreciative of everyone that was in the chat. I felt bad because I've noticed that when I do a live by myself, I'm really bad about keeping up with the chat. So I apologize to anyone that was in there.
You'll get used to it. I was just thinking, Buddy's still a little rusty wet underneath the ears there, behind the ears, and doing some more because it's just like after a while, just like myself, I have moments where I'm like, I can just do lives by myself, which I can anyway, but then there's times where it's like, because you're just so used to last times it's like, me and you, and then it's kind of like if one of us needs to go for a second or something like that, we just say be right back, and it just allows for a little bit more freedom. And then and then when Alexza or Lewis or somebody on too, then it's just like, oh, you know what I mean? It just can give you a break for a moment and stuff like that. But anyways, it was a good interview. They were very laggy from their end. So I'm not sure on the replay for people how bad that lag was. But I would say it was about 3/4 laggy for them, unfortunately. So it wasn't a good feed, but I haven't listened back to it. So I'm not sure. Did you listen back to it to see how laggy it actually was?
I guess I should lie and say yes, I did, but no,
I was going
didn't.
to say, you're going to say no, aren't you? Well, either way, it was like I said, it was their technical issues going on there. Sadly, it always never fails, eh? Sometimes you're doing something because normally when I've watched them, I think for the most part they've come in loud and clear. And I believe Tom Webster said, basically like take his notes because he's the king pro, right? I can't remember how he said it word for word. But if I went back into my messenger, but I'm thinking it was like, go ahead, Adam, take notes on my stuff when I had them on.
I mean, I would only hope to, do half as good a job as Tom Webster. So
right, from a recliner. Yeah. Anyways, so well, let's get going into it. So, Alexza, do you have anything to say? Because if not, oh, there. Look at that. Okay, obviously Alexza doesn't have anything to say because Daniel from the Drunk Turkey shows with us. Yay. Hey, Daniel.
How's it going?
Hi, Daniel. How are you?
hey, Daniel.
I'm doing well.
Yeah. I mean, right now I think our 26 subs or viewers are holding up to your about 500 to 800 usually that you're getting, but
we had 1,100 tonight.
Nice.
Did you? So
Nice.
Not trying to brag or anything, but we had 1,100.
Just
It's okay. We can
1,100.
You can brag here and we'll brag down here, okay?
I am enjoying an adult beverage. So.
Oh, nice. I don't have one. I should go get one of those. Actually, I will at some point. But anyway, so sorry, Daniel, did not see. Which your show probably was on Bryan Kohberger tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so what did you go over on the show tonight? On your show?
We were talking about basically the parents that got subpoenaed.
Yeah.
And then we're talking about how the state is requesting Kohberger's alibi.
Right.
Yeah,
huh? Go ahead. No, go ahead. Finish off.
Yeah, there was a document that was put out, I guess, yesterday from on the Idaho cases, and it was that they're requesting Kohberger's alibi. That tells me that
Oh.
they have no idea what Kohberger did or what he was up to that night.
Mm.
You know, I know there was like some interrogations that went down to the
Yeah.
point where they were asking, you know, if he knew about the situation. He said that he lived only 10 miles away. And, you know, he had a few words that came out about his interrogation. I did hear that it was very brief, that he asked for a lawyer, but I would have assumed an alibi would have been one of the top things you asked for. You know, what were you doing that night?
Yeah.
And if they're demanding for his alibi, that tells me that they never got that from him. Either he flat out refused to answer, stated he didn't remember, or something of that nature. But he never gave him one. And
Especially if you're innocent, right? That was the first thing you would do. It'd be like, check the cameras. I was here, or somebody can say this.
right. And yeah, well, he did say something to the effect that in one of the articles I read, something to the effect like, well, they have my phone pings or my phone. They can just check my GPS pings and where I was. And I was like, well, that's interesting. I mean, but he knew his phone was off that night. You would have assumed.
Yeah.
So
I'm not gonna lie. I didn't catch up on that part. Last thing in my ear that I recall hearing, besides the parents for the grand jury or whatever, Kohberger, what was it? Bryan Kohberger's no, not that one. This one. The Kohberger's parents to testify. The last thing ringing in my ear was that the defense was asking for whatever was said at the grand jury or whatever.
yeah, no, the state is asking for Kohberger's alibi now.
Is that what it was? Okay.
Well, there's also that aspect, what you were saying. But the newest document that just dropped was the state was and watch.
I don't need a hug. I don't need a hug, but if you want to give me a free one across the internet,
if you want to share my, you know, that it's the state's request for discovery, disclosure, alibi demand. This was, I believe, yesterday, the 23rd. So it was filed yesterday. So it probably just came out today.
Yeah.
And at the bottom, it says state's request for discovery, disclosure, alibi demand. And they want, you know, books, papers, documents, photographs, objects, you know, anything that they plan to introduce at trial that, you know, that talks about his an alibi. And then also number 2, I found this one to be interesting because it says all results or reports of physical or mental examinations and a scientific test or experiments made in connection with this case. The physical and mental examinations, he had a doctor's appointment that week after the murders. I'm wondering if that has something to do with that. They want to get his, you know, if he had a physical or if he had something like that.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see if he had any cuts, anything.
Right, exactly. And if he plans on using that in court as evidence, right? As evidence to him not being involved in an altercation. You know, you would assume somebody being in close combat with a knife would have had a significant amount of injury to them.
Right. You know, and the thing was is that I did see people posting stuff, you know, with this on Twitter. I just didn't bother to go look at it yet. To be honest, I was too busy. I don't even know. So, today I was just kind of like all over the map. For, I don't know, my Facebook was acting up and whatever. Then I was like, at some point I was just like, I'm going for a nap. I seen stuff, but sometimes I just ignore it until I have time to go to it, and I totally forgot. So I appreciate you sharing that with me. I know the docket's really good. Jennifer Coffindaffer's really good. Sleuthy Goosey's really good. You know, kind of like when I usually go to my Twitter, it's just like, oh, I didn't have to look too far.
Yeah, because
Right.
I hate the Idaho the way they look at the court documents on their website.
I know.
It's much more annoying than Indiana's.
Yeah, that's why I usually rely on Twitter to help me out instead, because Indiana is such a breeze to go look up the stuff.
I can never get that Vine app to work half the time.
I know. I don't know what it is, but I don't like that. Indiana's so sweet. It's just like, boom, thank you. Okay. You know, email the court doc, you know, to the Carroll County, email to Miami County. Boom. Okay. Either it's confidential or it's not. But anyways, so now I know I'll be covering this later about the visual snow. Um, because I do have like a video that's been in progress for a while, and I thought I'd bring it back up because I never finished it from like about a month ago, and it was kind of like you know, like a go through somewhat of the case, but I'm not going through like everything like that, but visual snow, and honestly, when I read it, the visual snow, and read what he said, you know, I still feel like that's like his mental capacity or whatever is going to definitely come into play. But honestly, I'm not going to lie, it breaks my heart when I see back in 2011 this visual of what you're reading. It's just
Horrendous.
it's just breaking. It breaks my heart. Have you gone over that in the longest while, Daniel, or what do you think about the visual snow with regards to Bryan's case? And
I mean, I think when it comes to the visual snow, I don't even know if that's like a. Well, I'm not a doctor, so there's only so much I can say about it. Obviously, I do know that it does exist. I know that there's probably a lot more people that have it that not committed a crime like Kohberger has, so I don't think it's an excuse.
I guess it depends
You know,
what came with it as
right?
well.
But I think that the visual snow was a symptom to some of the drugs he was taking. And I'm not talking about like illegal drugs. I'm talking about I think he was on a bunch of different medications growing up.
Topamax, I believe.
Right.
But I think it was
And,
before. But he suffered the visual snow before, I think, if I remember
I
correctly.
mean, he may have, but a lot of the stuff that he was talking about as far as feeling empty and not having feelings and stuff like that, I think was a cause of the medication. And I think that he used veganism or being a vegan as a way to cope with some of the side effects, right? And one of them being the visual snow. The fact that he was still practicing being a vegan and it being for medical purposes leads me to believe that maybe perhaps he was still dealing with some of the effects that he was dealing with prior to. And so it could be something that is, you know, ongoing, given the fact that he was still participating as a vegan. And so, you know, maybe perhaps that takes some kind of in consideration, but
Well,
I don't
yeah,
think it takes, you know, it justifies anything.
because I was gonna say, like, when I was listening to the few different videos on it yesterday, because I was doing a part about the visual snow in it, and then I was listening to it, and they said it's like it's actually not an eye issue. It's, you know, like I can't think of the
No,
word all of a sudden.
neurological. It's neurological.
Yeah, neurological disorder, whatever it was. But anyways, and so, you know, what they kept talking about was like hallucinations, and of course showing how it was, and anxiety, and you know, so some of those things that he actually put in there were quite relevant to what they were saying about visual snow, like in the documentary thing I was watching. I watched a couple of them, but I still feel like beyond that there's more to it, like meaning how his brain is wired regardless. Like, you know, for me, when he's saying like he like said no emotions, I'm really mean to my family, feel no remorse, you know. It was just really everything that made up somebody that could go do something like what happened on King Road, and just and almost disassociate themselves, like that they are the one that did it. Like that they weren't even. It's almost like this person, and then there's that person, this Bryan Kohberger, that Bryan Kohberger, and I don't know. I just all I know is when I went back to read that, because that's back in 2011. It just as a mom, you know, reading that, I'm just like, dude, you like, it just feels like someone that was just so in here, just not right, you know. But I don't know to the extent of what meds he was on, or how much his parents, you know, dealt with it or didn't deal with it, or if he really said much to them. I don't know. Don't know.
Mhm.
Maybe that will all come out. I don't know. Um, Other than that, I'm Danielle and Alexa and Adam. I'm gonna play just the face kind of part from the other day. I want Alexa to watch his cheek movements. I know you guys probably all talked about it and everything. So I'm just gonna play that for a few moments, and then we'll come back, and then you guys can kind of all say what you guys all think about that whole thing, if you don't mind. Which I'm sure, Daniel, you probably already talked about it. Which I think most every other news station has talked about it. So let me do that if you don't mind first.
Yeah,
And,
go ahead. I actually haven't done that.
oh, okay. So.
All rise. Thank you very much. Please be seated. Good morning, everybody. We have some people on Zoom here too, so we'll put a hybrid. Okay, let's get on the record, please. Thank you. Okay, we are now on the record in State of Idaho versus. You've already heard a lot of what I'm going to tell you at your initial appearance, but I'll repeat it to you because it's important, and I want to remind you of these issues. So I'll briefly cover your rights, the charges against you, and the maximum penalties if you are found guilty or if you plead guilty. So I'm going to start with the rights. You have a constitutional right to have an attorney represent you throughout these proceedings. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, then one is appointed at public expense. Ms. Taylor and her team have already been appointed, so that's taken care of. You have a right to a speedy and public jury trial where the state would be required to prove every element of each charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. At that trial, you would have the right to cross-examine the witnesses called against you. That means to see, hear, and question them, to call witnesses to testify for you, and if you choose to testify in your own defense. But you're not required to testify because you also have a right of silence. That right is protected under the Idaho and federal constitutions, so you can remain silent throughout these court proceedings, and that can't be held against you in any way. What you do need to remember, though, is that anything you do say, other than to your lawyers, could be used against you in a later court proceeding. Do you understand that? Yes, I do. Okay, thank you. You also have a right to appeal any final decision of the court. In order to exercise that right, you need to file a notice of appeal within 42 days of that final decision, or that right is waived. Also, if you are not a United States citizen, any finding of guilt in this state could have adverse consequences to your legal status. Do you understand these rights?
Yes.
Any questions about the rights?
No.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kohberger. So let's go to the indictment. Do you have a copy of the indictment in front of you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And you see in the heading your name there. Is that your correctly spelled complete name?
Yes, it is.
Is that the correct birth date underneath your name?
Yes.
Are those the correct last 4 digits of your social security number?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, I'm going to read you the charges on the indictment, starting with count 1, burglary. That is a felony under Idaho Code Section 18-1401 and 1403. This alleges that you, on or about November 13, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, did unlawfully enter a residence located at 1122 King Road, Moscow, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder. Count 2, murder in the first degree. That is a felony under Idaho Code Section 18-4001, 4002, 4003, and 4004. This alleges that you, on or about November 13, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and with malice aforethought, kill and murder Madison Mogan, a human being, by stabbing Madison Mogan, from which she died. Count 3, murder in the first degree, a felony under Idaho Code Section 18-4001, 4002, 4003, and 4004. This alleges that you, on or about November 13, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and with malice aforethought, kill and murder Kayla Gonsalves, a human being, by stabbing Kayla Gonsalves, from which she died. Count 4, murder in the first degree. That's a felony under Idaho Code Section 18-4001, 4002, 4003, and 4004. Alleging that you, on or about November 13, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and with malice aforethought, kill and murder Zayna Kernodal, excuse me. This is hard, I'm sorry. Zayna Kernodal, a human being, by stabbing Zayna Kernodal, from which she died. Count 5, murder in the first degree. This is a felony under Idaho Code Section 18-4001, 4002, 4003, and 4004. This alleges that you, on or about November 13, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and with malice aforethought, kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being, by stabbing Ethan Chapin, from which he died. This is signed on May 16, 2023 by the presiding grand jury. So now I'm going to go to the maximum penalties of each charge, starting with count 1, burglary, minimum 1 year, up to 10 years in imprisonment, fine of up to $50,000, or both fine and imprisonment, restitution for the victim's economic losses resulting from the crime. For counts 2, 3, 4, and 5, murder in the first degree, maximum penalties, life in prison, or the death penalty. Fine of up to $50,000, or both fine and life in prison or the death penalty. Restitution for the victim's economic losses resulting from the crime. Also, additional fine of up to $5,000 to be paid directly to the victim's families. If you are found guilty or plead guilty on each charge, and the maximum sentences are imposed consecutively, that means one right after the other, you could be facing 10 years in prison, followed by 4 consecutive life sentences or death penalties, fines of up to $200,000, and $20,000 to be paid directly to the families with any restitution resulting from the crimes. Okay. Mr. Kohberger, do you understand the charge in count 1, burglary?
Yes.
Do you understand the maximum penalty?
Yes.
Do you understand the charge in count 2, murder in the first degree?
Yes.
Do you understand the maximum penalty?
Yes.
Do you understand the charge in count 3, murder in the first degree?
Yes.
Do you understand the maximum penalty?
Yes.
Do you understand the charge in count 4, murder in the first degree?
Yes.
Do you understand the maximum penalty?
Yes.
Do you understand the charge in count 5, murder in
Yes.
the first degree? Do you understand the maximum penalty?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Taylor, is Mr. Kohberger prepared to plead to these charges?
Your Honor, we will be standing aside.
Okay, because Mr. Kohberger is standing silent, I'm going to enter not guilty pleas on each charge, counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Perfect. Big Blue.
Hi, Big Blue. How are you?
Guess
Thank you.
Guess who
y'all doing?
inspired this background? I get jealous every time I see yours, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. I'm like, I love Big Blue's background there. It just makes me happy and makes me like want to drink even if I don't have it. Well, actually, Maury Povich, thank you for joining us again. Yeah.
I'll take one for the team.
That's not the first
Take
one
a
he's
few,
done
please.
tonight. I can attest to that. That's not the first one he's done tonight.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us. I know that, originally when we were doing the Kohberger case, and we still do, but not as much, kind of like Delphi. So the following kind of drops off if you don't keep up with it. And there's certain channels like yourself, Truth and Transparency. I'll just say those two that I can think of off the top of my head. That, I'm sure that there's more, but I don't really pay attention too much to the creators, but that you guys really kind of like what I do and we do with it. Well, Nicola Bully, is that you guys do with the Kohberger case. It's like there, but you guys are, like I said, very familiar, a lot more than I am anymore. I still keep up with it, but not to I haven't kept up with it to the extent, right, Adam?
Right.
But
I've kept up with it pretty well, but yeah.
the gist, like I see the gist of it because I still, like it's kind of like he's in jail and but for us, this channel, a lot of the UK subs and stuff like that. I like talking about Nicola Bully still. I know that again the inquest will come or whatever. That case still blows my mind. Just how, the inconsistencies, but.
I've been a little bit out of the game for the Nicola Bully. How's that one going? Hi, Alexa, and hi, Aspen.
Hey.
Just to
Hi.
give you just the quickest update. Sorry, go ahead, guys. Sorry, I know there's 5 of us on here. That one, Big Blue. Just quickly. So the inquest will be at the end of June, but the bottom line is, and I've like siphoned pretty much almost all the information, not all of it, but I would say a good 90% of it. And honestly, just from the start to the finish of that case, it just blows me away still because nothing is consistent. And I don't use creators' information. I use the information from either the police or from the news media to try to make sense out of it. And I'm just not even going to lie, because there's so many inconsistencies, you can't make sense of it. So regardless, there's going to be an inquest. Regardless, they're going to, I'm sure, give an answer of, and it's probably going to be like, what was it called, Adam? Like a misadventure?
Misadventure.
Yeah, but I like puzzles in a sense. So it's kind of like Kohberger too. Before he was arrested, it's like a big puzzle piece to me, and it still is, because you're just trying to figure out, like especially with Kohberger's case, you're just trying to figure out like, so what was the reason? Was it because of drugs? Was it because of stalking? Was it because of Maddie, Kaylee? Was it because of Zaina? I don't know. And then there was that whole little bit of information that kind of just came out with this Dave guy. And I remember you guys had the Kim lady on there as well. And that's what kind of made my mind go back to the whole, well, maybe he was drugs, like it's a drug thing. I don't know.
I don't think Kohberger's case is that far into the drugs. I think drugs are an aspect of college life in that area, but I'm not sure if it's something that was contributed, or the only way that I can possibly see that it could be potentially involved is, and I mentioned it before, if Kohberger's motive was the perfect crime, then you'd be looking for the perfect victim, and the victim that you'd probably be looking for is somebody who has parties, has people coming in and out of the house, has shady characters around them. If there is, like, such as Emma Bailey, a known drug dealer in that town, was known to visit that area. And so if you have those type of individuals, coming and going out of that house, you have somebody who was just through a recent breakup. There's a lot of suspects there. And so you could assume that if he's looking for the perfect crime, you got to find the perfect victim, so to speak. And perhaps that's where he was going with it. And that's probably the only aspect that I can see drugs playing a role here.
Yeah, because one thing I haven't brought up too much is, like, the drugs that are being, used are not cheap drugs, I've been to a couple of parties lately, and some college parties too, with some friends that are still going to college, and it's only beer there. You got to be in a certain type of society to be using the other types of drugs that are accused of being used.
Oh,
But Dave did bring that up, though. Dave said that there was, because I asked him that on purpose. I was like, if, how'd I ask him? I said, if somebody were to have gone to any other house out there, would there have been more drugs than normal at this house?
I remember that, yeah.
And he said, well, there are some houses that are clean.
Yeah.
And so, I didn't want to, and just to kind of clear the air, Dave, before the show went on, had reached out to me. One, he had told me that he was kind of iffy about even coming on our show. And two, he didn't want to talk about the drugs. So a lot of people were like, oh man, you didn't ask him the hard questions, that and the third. The thing is, he had already been asked a lot of those questions.
Yeah.
Right. So asked and answer type of situation when it comes to the drug stuff. And so I wanted to ask him more questions that were not asked, some firsthand questions, like, have you been in the house? What does the house look like at night? Things of that nature.
Yeah.
Now, him not wanting to come out on anybody's show is his own choice. He doesn't want to do that anymore. He was actually iffy about coming on ours.
Yeah.
He had told us that he was afraid that some of the people in his, inner circle might find out who he is. And he didn't want that to be the case.
Yeah.
He still lives in that area. He mentioned some things that people were doing in that area that are illegal. And so, he doesn't want to be amongst, the bad end of that situation. And so he was even considering not doing a live with us that Monday. I told him, hey, man, you be comfortable. I'm not going to push you into something you don't want to do. If there's an avenue you don't want to talk about, we're not going to talk about it. He didn't want to talk about the drugs, so we didn't talk about the drugs.
Yeah.
And so, I asked him in a previous interview that I had put out there if he thought that Demetrius or Emma Bailey were involved, and he flat out said he didn't think so. And so, he said that he didn't think they were involved in the actual committing of that crime. Were they involved in drugs and other stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. But he doesn't think that they were involved in what happened with Kaylee, Maddie, and Ethan and Xana.
Yeah. I vaguely looked him up. He has a couple aliases, and I remember the one that I found, like the little dancing video of Emma. Emma
Emma Bailey.
It's Emma, right? Emma.
Yeah.
sorry, there's a lot of different Emmas and Emilys in my head right now. And then I think he was under like Anthony Tome or something like that. It's the same person because
Right.
on Intellius you look them up and then it's like, oh, Alexa just dropped, and then you look them up and there's like some aliases there. So lots of times Intellius gives you like wrong Facebooks and that, but I mean it was the same dude, and it had
Well, that guy Demetrius has a pretty significant rap sheet. He did 15 months.
I seen that. Yeah,
for trying to drown a guy.
yeah.
And so, I asked oh boy if he thought that there was a possibility they were involved. He said maybe. He doesn't know. He's never heard any of those things. And a lot of people wanted me to ask questions like, why does he think BK did it? Like, how the hell is he gonna know the answer to that question? You know what I mean? There was a lot of those type of you should have asked him, why he chose them.
Yeah.
Like, how the hell does he know that?
Well,
You have to, once you start going down those avenues of what he thinks or rumors or opinions,
I know
people start blurring that line of opinion and fact, and think that. And then once somebody hears something that is somebody's opinion, and let's just say that it comes back as wrong, people then close off all the other information that is being said by the person.
Yeah.
And even though they're basing it off of the one opinion, like for instance, the Dana Smithers, this is the person that Kohberger's parents were brought into grand jury about. April 13th, myself and Blue and Hyman did a video on Dana Smithers as being a possibility of a person that Kohberger may have been involved in. Now, if we were wrong, does that automatically disclose or discredit every video that we've put on there? No. I mean, that's one, our opinion. And two, we saw a correlation there. We saw a pattern. And we wanted to talk about that pattern. Is it possible that we were right? It looks like maybe we're a lot more right than we were wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so, but if we were completely wrong, that doesn't discredit all the other work that we've done or all the stuff that we've done.
Right.
And so the same thing should be done with if somebody comes forward, especially if you're asking for their opinion and their thoughts, not so much their facts. When you ask for their facts, and then that's a different story. If a guy comes forward and says, I was with Bryan Kohberger at the gas station at 4:00 in the morning, at the A&W there in Moscow, Idaho. And you can go and look up there in the camera and see that he wasn't. And you can tell he's lying. Yeah. Right? Those are facts. You can determine those.
Exactly. Things. Those are facts. Exactly.
Opinions and those, they're not.
Well, I kind of said the same thing because, with Delphi, I labeled a different Kagan the BG. It all perfectly fit. But obviously, at the end of the day, I was wrong. Now, hindsight says, obviously, my bad. I wasn't really into true crime. And I was just like, dude, like, you're not going to get away with this. Like, everyone, is not seeing who you are, whatever. Anyways, so my bad on that. But kind of like the same thing, Daniel. It's like, just because I might, like, the BG, I always said, even if that's not him, regardless of who anyone thinks the BG is, that doesn't mean that all the other information around it with Garrett Kurtz and everything is wrong, or the Paladinos and stuff like that. But people just get it set in your head, in their head. But those to me are like, sorry, but they're the, closed box thinkers versus the people that understand that no one's perfect. Doesn't matter if you're a police officer or not. Like I said, you put stuff out there, doesn't mean that it's all wrong or, so for me, I just, in my head, like to think that even though I've been proven wrong because someone thought that, go ahead.
Understanding is also a big component of things as well. Like, for instance, in the Delphi case, forgive me, I don't remember the guy's name, but the main inspector that talks, that's always out on the air.
Oh, Carter. Doug Carter?
Yeah, Doug Carter. Yeah. He said something to the effect about that there was a lot of tentacles in this case.
Correct.
And when they arrested Richard Allen, I saw a bunch of people saying, hey, where are these tentacles? What are these tentacles? And I'm like, you know what I think those tentacles are? Those tentacles are You have a guy named Keegan Kline who was also communicating with these girls that ended up being a dead end that would have looked promising. You have a guy in Ronald Logan who was lying about his alibi and lying about where he was at that looked promising but ended up also being a dead end. You had Keegan Kline talking about all these other people and coming up with all these stories and all these other things, him being in a red Jeep supposedly at one point. Come to find out, he's just a liar. But those things would prove or would normally point you in the right direction. These tentacles are like a maze with a where you end up at the wrong spot, right? You just went down this entire route thinking it's promising, and boom, it's a dead end. There's nothing there. Now, a good investigator will go through that and say, all right, hey, you know what? Ronald Logan was out drinking, violating his and he had guns in his house, which were a violation of his probation. That's the reason why he lied. People don't want to accept that. They don't want to accept that that's the reason why, because they built this narrative that, no, he's got to be the bridge guy because he lied about his alibi. They don't want to accept the reasoning behind why he lied.
Yeah.
And they're choosing their narrative over the evidence.
100%.
Daniel, and we'll go back to Bryan here and the facial expressions, because I know people want to know about that. But like with that whole, I lost my train of thought, for frick's sakes. Daniel, whatever.
I'm not drinking.
Daniel, what?
I was reading the comments. I thought that was funny.
Daniel, what did you
I think everyone in the chat is ready to hear what Alexza has to say about the food.
Give me one sec. Okay, he was talking about Ron Logan. Just let me say this. So the new thing is that because there's no obituary for Ron Logan, and it says that he lives in Florida, that Ron Logan is alive still.
Witness protection program, right?
Oh my God. Or how about the one guy in Tom Webster's live? Well, maybe Ron, or maybe BG, Richard Allen, maybe he took his cat with him into the woods, and that's how the cat hair. And then,
oh my God,
like you could just see Tom's was like, really?
And if anybody knows people that own cats, they have cat hairs all over their clothes.
I know, right? Anyways, you guys, let's go back to the expressions, because I know everyone wants to know about those. Alexza, we will start off with you, and then we'll go to Big Blue, and then Daniel. So, Alexza, Bryan Kohberger's facial expressions, and what was your whole intake?
I mean, I honestly found him a little bit different from the prior time that I saw him. Like last time he was in court, or when I saw him being the arraignment and the other one, I think in the previous one he was more arrogant. And I know a lot of people say, oh yeah, if you notice this time when he walks into the court, even I know he has shackles, but even his walk is a little bit different. Before, he's walking very straight, very arrogant. He comes off as arrogant. This time, if you notice, he's walking, so from the start I can see his demeanor looks a little bit different. He looks a little bit softer. Then he sits. There's a point, I don't know if you guys noticed it, that he actually a lot of people are saying that I saw 2 or 3 people that were saying that when he moves and he says hello, I think he's saying hello to the lawyer, or he does something to the lawyer, and he actually smiles. And for the first time, I think we see Bryan smile for real, because the previous times you always see him smile from the bottom. And this time it's actually real, because you can actually even see the eyes squinting. And I actually was like, wow, I actually was quite surprised. So that's that. Then you get into he's very present, and I don't know why people, especially on TV, people are very shocked to see that he's very coherent. Why wouldn't he be coherent? I mean, obviously, I'm not trying to say that people that go to school are intelligent, because not everybody that goes to school is intelligent, but obviously there's a certain level that he was taking a PhD. He's a PhD student, so of course he's going to be coherent. So I clench every time people say, we're so surprised to hear that he's so coherent. Why wouldn't he be coherent? But anyway, that's that. Then he sits. So then he's sitting and, he's talking to the judge, when the judge is asking questions and everything. Where the one thing that caught my eye is when they start reading the charges, especially the murder charges. And the first one that they read is Maddie's. And if you notice, like but you got to pay attention because it's subtle. Is when they're saying the killing of, the unaliving of Maddie, and he actually like moves his head up and down, like it's almost like saying yes, like acknowledging, and there is blinking in his eyes. That's with Maddie. With Kaylee, very interesting. There's no movement. With Kaylee, he stays still. There's not even a blink. I notice he doesn't even blink. With Sana, I saw another body language that he said that he made a big deal about Sana, that maybe Sana was the one, and I don't think so. I think he started clench because you can see his jaw, like literally, like he starts clenching, and there's a lot of tension in his jaw with the name. But if you notice, at the same time, the judge is mispronouncing the name, so I think it's an annoyance. I don't think it has anything to do with Sana being, the one, or anything to do. I think he's annoyed the fact that this judge is mispronouncing. So his annoyment is he's feeling the tension in his jaw. Another one that I noticed, and then he starts fidgeting also with papers. For Ethan, very interesting, because Ethan, he starts fidgeting. He starts even, he's very fidgety. Very, very fidgety. So to me, it's almost like, well, let me finish one thought before I go into what I think about that. Fidgety. He even starts moving papers. So he starts with the shoulders, and then he moves. So to me, it tells me that probably Ethan was the most memorable, or there was something that happened with Ethan that he's processing, and it makes him feel uncomfortable. Like he's starting to feel uncomfortable. And when you're uncomfortable, what is the first thing you do? You start moving and you start suiting. You need to suit, and those papers become basically like his rattle, like his binky. That's that. What else? Facial expressions. Let's see. You notice, I think this is the first time that Bryan is face to face with what happened. I think before it did, obviously allegedly, because we don't know, but let's go down the rabbit hole that he is the one who did all this. To me, he swallows. If you notice, he's swallowing a lot. He's clenching his jaw a lot. That shows tension. It's almost like for the first time he's acknowledging what's happening. Also, he does a lot of movement with his lips. If you notice, like this.
Yeah.
And that's discomfort. Like he's feeling discomfort and tension. And I think from also clenching so hard, maybe it's bothering him that he has to do that, kind of to alleviate a little bit of the the tension that he has. Licking, a lot of licking and a lot of biting inside of his mouth. Again, tension. That's about it. I mean, but the one that really caught my eye is, when they call Sana's name. I mean, not Sana's name. I'm sorry, Maddie's name. Like that's subtle. Almost like acknowledgement. Like, sometimes people, and that's one of the things, like when, for example, when you are lying or you're being deceptive, because I hate the word lying, and I tell you, you're saying, Alexza, are you wearing black? And I'm like, no, I am not wearing black. But your body is saying yes. And that's one of the things that really caught my eye. That's about it.
Well, I was going to say, okay, we'll go to Blue, and then we'll go to Daniel, and then, like I said, I don't know. Let's see what Blue, go next. So what did you think about all that?
Well, I think a couple things did come out. I think there was a little frustration on everybody's part because they couldn't get the monitoring system to work right. Oh. They're going back and forth, trying to say, "Can you hear me?" And somebody dropped the ball there. So to me, somebody like him, he seems pretty intelligent. That would be annoying. That should be top priority for somebody in the court to have that fixed to where the judge can talk to everybody and listen to what their opinion is. I didn't look at his mannerisms too much. I was looking more like what the lawyer and him were doing, and it looked like he was letting her do all the talking. I mean, he did answer a few yeses and nos, but I still wanted to hear more from him. That's my thing. I think by him being silent, to me, it could be more of a game. You know, he's damned if he isn't. If he talks, and damned if he doesn't talk. So
Yeah.
we're gonna find out here. I don't know. They said it for October, right?
Well, do you honestly think it's going to happen, though?
Who knows? Because they're trying to press. They're pressing. They're really pressing to be early as much as they can.
Well, the advantage there is the amount of evidence that they have.
Yeah.
You know, they turned over
60 days to ask for a speedy trial. Is that it? Or
no, the 60 days was the death penalty.
That's right, the death penalty. But so I think if he asks for a speedy trial, it has to be within 6 months in Idaho.
Right.
So,
and I think like November was the 6 month range.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Daniel, so your thoughts on all that whole clenching and
I mean, you know, we're looking at him from a weird angle, to be honest with you. You know, it's from behind and to the side of him. And so, you know, it is kind of difficult to determine, you know, his full manner or his full facial expression during that during some of those words. I would have liked to have seen, you know, what his eyes were doing, where they were looking at, you know, maybe what his nose was doing, if it was, you know, crinkling up or not, or his nostrils were flaring. And so those are things that I wish I could see. But based on what I did see, you know, I think he's aware that everybody's watching every little move that he makes. You know, and to Blue's, you know, to add on to it, I mean, that could be the reason why he didn't say guilty or not guilty, because, you know, that moment, you know, right now, you know, him being mute is the quiet that everybody's heard around the world, so to speak. Him going up there and saying not guilty would have been the not guilty heard around the world. It would have been played over and over again and scrutinized to the T. So could it possibly be a strategic type of thing? Maybe. But, you know, I think that if he would have went in there firmly stating that he was not guilty, would have probably been more powerful than him just kind of standing mute. You know, I've seen a lot of polls, and I know polls aren't everybody, but polls were somewhere around the 50-50 range as far as his guilt or not guilty. And now, since he's kind of stayed silent, I think it's kind of gone more to that 60-70% guilty versus not guilty.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Actually, I'm amazed how many not guilties I keep seeing lately. Like, each to their own, you know. But I feel like there's more than
like even in your current one right now says that 75% of people still think he's guilty right now.
Yeah.
Right.
And 8 saying no and 17 unsure. Yeah.
And so we did our own poll, and it was like 68% said he was guilty. In shows prior to him standing mute, a lot of people thought that, you know, it was closer to like 56-55% thought he was guilty. You know, and like 30% not guilty and like 20% unsure. And so, you know, I've seen a little bit of shift in that. I think a lot of people are thinking that maybe perhaps he is.
Yeah.
That was a sign of guilt. I for one thought it was a sign of guilt right off the bat.
I mean, I personally think he's guilty.
Do you think also with the Dateline special?
See, I never seen that because I don't have TV.
Friday.
I was trying to find it.
The Dateline special Friday night.
Oh, I found it on YouTube. I'll send it to you.
Did you find it? Could you please?
It's on Peacock also, if you have Peacock.
Is that on TV?
Really?
I don't have TV.
Yeah. I think Peacock's like $7.99 or $8.99 a month.
But there's NBC. If you get the NBC app, you get like 3 free credits
I
or
have
3 free
Peacock.
shows. And so you can watch it on Peacock. But I'll send you the link.
I just have a call. Okay.
Yeah, somebody put it on YouTube, and I like it on YouTube because you can freaking watch it like at 1.5 speed and cut that SOB down to about.
Can you send it to us, please?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'll send it to you guys.
Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, the one on Peacock sometimes has commercials, but it's not too bad. I mean, I watched it and
well, go ahead, Blue.
I said the one thing that I thought was a little off was I think they were shooting for the moon. You know what I mean? They know there's a lot of interest in the case. There's a lot of people covering it, but there's not a lot of new information. So they were going back and forth with these kind of like wild stories of, third person said this.
The Papa Rogers stuff.
Yeah, well, the Papa Rogers, they supposedly they say it's him in the special.
Yeah, like, so what's up with that?
Yeah. Did you listen to the wording of it? Because the wording they use is that it's very likely him, but they, and then they use Jennifer Coffindopper as their source that said, and Jennifer Coffindopper is the one that said she believes it's him.
Yeah.
And the wording that they used on Dateline was that, and this source believes it's him, I thought that was a little trickery, because it made it sound like they confirmed it, but all they really said that Jennifer Coffindopper thinks it's him.
Yeah, and even when you're watching the video, it doesn't sound like they say her. Like, they don't mention her at all. They just say, what do they put? They put like something about
source.
Well, Coffindopper's been putting a lot of stuff on Twitter.
On Twitter.
Yeah. About comparing Kohberger's the sales survey and some of the questions that old boy had asked. But the thing is, if you're like investigating these cases, those are questions you would probably be asking yourself.
Of course.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, like, there's a lot in this case that you can probably determine based on just looking at the scene and getting the information. So, like, Papa Rogers putting 2 and 2 together that they're looking for a fixed blade knife, and that they're looking for a specific one, because we have to remember there was rumors early on that they were looking for a K-bar knife, and that they were going on to different areas in town that sold them looking for K-bar knife. If they were looking for that, they would have and they didn't find the murder weapon, then that leads you to believe that they found something that identified that weapon, whether it was an imprint or the sheath or something of that nature. There's not very many things that you can leave behind that's not the actual instrument itself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you wouldn't have the results back from any of the pathology stuff, or not pathology, but however they would determine the wounds, what actual knife was used. Because the K-bar thing was out before that information would have been back from the lab.
Right. So
I just want to comment. I just want to comment one thing. Somebody put Grizzly True Crime has the video up. They had a narrative of the video. They didn't have the video because I tried finding it before I knew it was on Peacock, and it was just her narrating through it because she didn't want to get copywritten.
Right.
So she just had a bunch of
Alexza.
like a projector screen.
I watch Grizzly True Crime, so I'm used to how she does her things, and so she usually plays it safer on that stuff. So you're not gonna. I just want to watch the episode, watch it.
It was good.
Yeah,
but I agree with what Blue said about there's not a ton of new information out, at least So they did go back and forth with some theories and with some old information, sprinkled in with a few really good new exclusives that they had gotten.
Yeah.
Well, the biggest piece of evidence that I thought that they had was the fact that Kohberger purchased the knife in July, before he went out there. That leads you to believe that he was premeditated, that he was going to commit this crime to somebody somewhere along the lines, whether it would have been one of these girls or not. So I think that kind of blows out the theory that these girls, one of them, disrespected him in some certain way or turned him down. You know, his goal was to find somebody. The other thing is that they brought up the fact that they had somebody who they claim was a female coworker of Kohberger's that, you know, had some things moved around. They called Kohberger to come in, and they suspect him of being the guy. Now, what evidence do you think would be out there that would lead them to believe that Kohberger was involved in the initial burglary? Because that coworker didn't call the cops. She called Bryan Kohberger to come help her.
Did they find her ID?
That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, right, because those IDs weren't any of the girls.
Exactly.
Right. And they also they said that he did not slide in anybody's DM, which would go along with him going under the motive of trying to commit the perfect crime. Because if that was the motive and that was the goal, going in and trying to make, you know, any type of communication or contact with one of the victims, you know, would have been a surefire way of getting, you know, direction pointed at you. You know what I'm saying? They're going to go through their phones and their computers and their social medias and find out that you were trying to contact them.
Right.
So they debunked that, and they added on that they had the coworker. Now, like I said, I think that kind of leads us to believe a couple of things. I think that coworker was probably more than a coworker. You know, the girl, college, probably away from home. You know, if this was her hometown, somebody broke into her house, the first person you would assume they would call maybe dad, and then boyfriend. And so, you know, somebody they trust, especially if they're not calling the police, like if they don't think it's that serious enough, but they want to feel safe. And so, you know, I don't think coworker from work is where they're going with that. And so I think that Kohberger was this person's significant other. And I strongly suspect that they found her ID at his house out there in the Poconos.
And
that's what I thought.
That's logical. I mean, that honestly is logical. You know, about that. I mean, considering, I think, you know, like I said, you know, everyone did think that it was one of the girls at first. But, you know, like I said, that makes sense. And so it wouldn't shock me if that came to fruition.
I do got to get going here pretty soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have any questions for me, maybe about Dave or anything? Because I know that's been a hot topic about conversation.
You know what? I mean, we haven't discussed it over here besides me, the odd thing. And like I said, you know, I was a little kind of choked. I don't want to say choked, but about that channel that was thinking that you guys were getting paid and stuff like that. And I could care less what anyone does, honestly. But I mean, it was one of those things because I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, yeah, that's a troll. And I thought, well, maybe I don't know, maybe it's not. But either way, you know, it was kind of like, you know, I'm pretty sure Danielle, like, I don't know if you guys ever have or did or whatever, but I would like to think that, you know. Like,
no, we've only paid one person to come on our show, and that was an actor.
Yeah. Yeah. And okay. I heard
that had nothing to do with anything. We didn't pay an actor to come on our show to talk true crime. You know, that was the actor Danny De La Paz. You'll know him from the movies. American Me, Boulevard Nights. You've seen American Me. He was the guy. He was Big Puppet. In order to come out on our podcast and to do an interview with us, he asked us to do a $100 donation to Homeboy Enterprise, which is a organization that he is affiliated with that helps out felons go into the real world and, you know, make a difference in their life. And so we've been candid about those things. You know, I know there was a few people that were upset because they wanted Dave to go out on their channel. And like I told Dave, is like, you don't know anybody, you don't know me, you don't know
anybody, anything, right?
Anybody, anything, you don't know anybody's name. Like this is your life that's on the line here, you know, because of some of the information that he told me, I had advised him to stay anonymous. I told him, you know what, man, you don't want to put your name out there and stuff like that. He identified who he was to me. He showed me his ID. I found him through his fraternity. And so, you know, outside of that, I mean, the rest of it is kind of hard to vet without knowing, you know, the evidence that the police do.
You know, my thing will always still be this, okay? So unless you're just a trash channel that's just trying to trash people all the time, you're useless in my space, and to me, you're useless in the true crime space. Maybe to them, they feel like there's something. They're the ones that trash. As for what
Wow.
people do on their channels, if they want to pay someone, if they don't want to pay anyone, whatever, you always have to justify yourself to every little thing and And like I said, you didn't ask enough questions. You didn't do this right. You didn't do that right. Again, if you listen to everything that people said out there, heck, you might as well just go bury your head underneath the thing. But at the end of the day,
No, yeah, for sure.
We have been trolled since day one, pretty much. So
yeah,
we're
and
used to it. We're
to me,
used to it. So
it's like I could for me, the focus here, like on this channel, is like, and me and Adam know, right? Okay, those people who want to backstab and they want to try to cause issues, go away. Have a nice day, because our focus is really to move forward with different cases and do our thing, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, go create your own damn channel if you care so much about stuff like that. You go be a
The
voice.
thing is, a lot of these people just want us to say their name.
Yeah.
Because they know that we have a larger channel, and if we expose who these people are.
Right, Maury Povich?
Right, like if I tell people like, oh yeah, Drunk Turkey Show clips. Go follow those guys, by the way.
I know.
The Drunk Turkey Show clips. They're talking smack. They put out a video about me. You're gonna have a bunch of people going over there trying to figure out what it was.
Yeah.
And so we have these idiots that think that they can say things about us, and that we're gonna say, oh my God, you know, this person over here is talking smack.
Yeah.
One, we really don't care. Two,
I know. I can tell when you talk.
There's other ways. Like if you wanna come out on our show, we've had people that were smaller. We've had channels that are larger.
Yeah.
We've promoted them. We've had them come on and tell us what it is that they do or don't do. We've gone on other people's channels. We're not afraid to do so. We're not afraid to come on anyone's channel, especially if they have, if they're critical about something, they got questions and they're doing it in a respectful manner.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll come out there. I mean, I came out on JB Gunner's channel because
that's one I was just gonna say.
I know, I saw that one. That one was good.
He's the one that had the person come out in his live chat that said that they were Dave. So I went and that day created an account on Facebook called The Real Bryan Kohberger. And I commented on his post. I'm saying, hey, this is The Real Bryan Kohberger because that's what my name says and that's what my handle is. I have an exclusive deal with Ashley Banfield and News Nation, or else I'd come out on your channel. Relatively what the fake Dave said, just to show that anybody could be anyone. I mean, we've had people pretending to be us in people's live chat.
That's horrible.
We've had someone do that with us too. Sleuth Intuition. That's where I got the whole dick roll, my first warning from, because I was new. I didn't know. I thought it was Sleuth. I was like, come on up, Sleuth. And next thing you know, it was like dick.
Some people like to put out their Vienna sausage out there.
You left a comment then on my video or something then. Because I remember didn't you leave a funny or something on my?
Yeah, I left the same thing. I put Bryan Kohberger. I'm like, hey, this is the real Bryan Kohberger.
Real Bryan Kohberger.
Yeah. So there's a person that trolls me. I'll say their name because they don't have a channel there. Yeah. So then somebody named like Tori, I think, or Tracy. I don't know. They have a picture of a dog, and they go out there. And in fact, when we put out Dana Smithers, was a possible person that Kohberger may be involved in. They were going on other people's channels saying that we were trying to link Kohberger to everybody and anybody, right? And I was just like, but they were being very disrespectful about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so when that person was the person that commented on your show, I put on there, I was like, hey, I'm the real Kohberger and I'm in a relationship with that Tony guy or whatever. Yeah. Tony Martinez. Here's the thing. I'm a troll myself. I mean, I'll put my name out there. I don't care. But if somebody wants to talk smack, I'm more than happy to talk smack back. You're not going to like it. I'm very good at it.
Yeah.
I'm very, very good at it.
Too. I know. I've had to control myself because I love that stuff too. And I want to ask you though, in 1 second, Daniel, I do want to ask you one question, but I want to say the same thing is that, like I said, I love you boys. I know we all do. I know when I'm watching you, when somebody makes a comment like that, you're just like, Yeah, okay, we paid the guy $200, right? As if,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and I just love the way that, again, you just laid back and chill, big channel, small channels, whatever. Like I said, you're just not, down to earth people. Like, you know what I mean? I love you guys for just keeping it real. Like when I watch you, Big Blue and Jaime on there, it's just, it's like three guys sitting out, freaking on the lawn, having a few drinks and being like, hey, let's talk about this. And, it's
Yeah.
very, I really love it. I mean, I really like the whole,
Yeah.
like I said, laid back, but yet, you guys are entertaining to watch, but yet smart to listen to by the same token,
Yeah,
So
we
I really,
somebody. Yeah, we had somebody saying that we paid some guy $200 and that it was Enan Harsh. I'm like, shit. If I'm paying Enan Harsh $200, he better be juggling those sticks for an hour. I ain't
right?
gonna. He better not drop it either. I'm paying $200. I better see a show,
Yeah.
and it'd better be worth $200 an hour.
Yeah.
No,
But
we didn't pay anybody. It's not Enan Harsh.
who cares if
Uh,
you did anyway? I mean, who cares?
well,
It's your
well,
channel, it's your money. Who cares?
right. I mean, the thing is, we would disclose that.
Yeah.
Like shit, dude. If Bryan Kohberger told me, "Hey, I'll give you an interview, but you got to
Yeah.
pay me $500," I'd be dropping $500.
Mhm.
Right. Or
I'm
you
not.
can be like Kagan
I'll
Klein
be
and be a
honest.
scammer. Thanks for the money, sucker. No,
But it's like
Right.
we really wanted to have an actor on our show when we were early on, and he wanted $1,000 for 1 hour.
Yeah,
wow.
we're like, dude.
And I was like, man, no, sorry.
You know what?
Wow.
I'll tell you who it is. I don't know if y'all know who it is, but it was Miklo from Blood
Who?
In, Blood Out. I don't know if you guys ever seen Blood In, Blood Out.
No.
It's like these are like Hispanic gangster movies, Blood In, Blood Out, American Me, things of that nature. And there was a guy in Blood In, Blood Out named Miklo, and we had contacted his
It's,
well, I don't know, his
manager.
His brother.
manager. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, he wants like about $1,000 and $2,000 an hour. I was
Jeez.
like, Jesus. Yeah, right, buddy. I was like, we'll think about it. We'll think about
Yeah.
it, and we'll call you
Okay.
back.
Yeah.
The guy was like, man, we'll get you 100. At the time, we only had like maybe 100 subs, maybe
Yeah.
less than that, maybe 90. And he's like, we'll get you a big following and this, that, and the third. And I told the guys, I'm like, no, we're not going to pay $1,000 for one, because he was trying to tell us like, hey, we
Yeah.
have other actors, that were like
You are
that could
not
come
going to get
out for
$1,000 back.
like $200.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but nobody even knows who Miklo is, much less the other guys. Like,
I was
no
gonna say,
offense to Miklo or anybody else.
Right.
We
why
love
you
your
think
stuff.
But if y'all like gangster prison movies, Blood In, Blood Out was one of the biggest ones in the 90s.
what was it called again? Let the blood out?
No, Blood In, Blood Out.
Oh, let it. Okay. Oh,
Blood In.
Blood in, blood out.
Gee,
Okay.
Sonny's gonna watch it. She's gonna come back next week with a red.
Well, I might
bandana
have-
backwards. And,
I was
Yeah,
gonna
she's gonna have a
say,
spider tattoo on her arm and stuff.
I was gonna say I'm really bad for movies unless it's somebody big. Like, say, for instance, Tina Turner passed away today. And like, I know who Tina Turner is, so I know where to see her face. But when it comes to movies, and unless you're a big star that sticks in my head, I usually always have to go back and watch the trailer to go, oh, yeah, I've seen that movie. Because chances are the one that you're talking about, I did, but I just don't remember it until I look at the trailer and go, oh, yeah, shoot. Okay. And I suck at names.
There's a bunch of memes online for that movie all over the place. There's there's Big Al's, moving Sunshine up in the line, giving him an apple and stuff like that. So
I was probably too busy watching Cheech and Chong movies at this point.
yeah.
dude, Cheech and Chong movies rock.
I love
Yeah.
Daniel, the question I did want to ask you and Blue and is about just quickly about the sister, about apparently the sister thinking supposedly
The latex gloves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was
Well,
your
the
thought?
first thing is the latex glove not being a normal thing. That's a huge red flag.
Yeah.
A lot of people have come in with the conversation of like, well, did he have OCD? Was that a common normal thing? And if it was, then you can't look at that as a situation that is out of character. Now, the fact that they were suspicious about him to the point where they went out and looked at his car, that leads you to believe that that wasn't something that was very common at all. And I think that also leads you to believe that there was probably other things. Now, I don't think that the sister was the source. My assumption is the source was probably a police officer, probably one on scene, and probably somebody came in there. They served the warrant, searched the house, and while they were there, probably talked to the family members like, what's this about? It's like he's under arrest for suspicion of the homicides in Moscow, Idaho. And these girls are probably familiar, like, oh my God. And it was like, has he been acting weird? Just kind of casual conversation. They're not suspects, so you don't have to Mirandize them, and you can kind of just get one of those just race statements out of them where they just kind of say something and just talking in the motion. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's what that was all about. I don't think that it was them going to the police. I don't think that they tipped off the police or anything like that either.
Yeah, I assumed it was that, or that maybe she, the sister told a friend or text messaged a friend, after the arrest that we went and looked in the car, and that then a friend was the source.
Yeah.
But a cop also could easily be a cop.
Yeah, I'm pretty positive it's a cop. They have some of the detailed information that they had and stuff like that. It's got to be. It's got to be one of the officers from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. That or an FBI agent that was out there.
Yeah. I wanted to show this before we jump off. I want to show this to you.
Yeah,
I want to thank you because I ordered one and I wanted you to see it.
Oh my God, it looks so good.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I love it. Isn't that awesome? So yeah, because am I allowed? Yeah, because can I say that I designed? Except for you guys put the beanie back on instead. On that, the drunk turkey little logo there, on there. Am I allowed to say that? Because I said it before.
Yeah. Of course, we told everybody that we got it.
Yeah.
See, we give when anybody helps us out, we give them their flowers. There's been some people who have claimed differently that because we're covering the same stuff, they think that we've somehow taken the information from them. But
that's happened to us too.
If we ever get something second nature, second hand from another creator, we always give them their flowers. And so
it's the same, right? Because again, for me, it's really like it's not even an ego thing. I just really enjoy. So I enjoy creating. So when Daniel had asked, he's like, "Hey, do you know any or like do you know somebody or whatever?" And I was just like, oh, hello. So I was racing around going, here's this design, here's that design, and then I had the cap on, and then they put the beanie on instead because it was like, because you guys wear beanies a lot as well. And anyways, it's just a cute little logo up in the right-hand corner. So Lou, that is absolutely adorable. It's so cute. The drunk turkeys. Yeah.
There's the beanie.
Yes. Yeah.
It's just too dang hot in Texas right now to be wearing this.
Oh, I know. But that's so cool. So obviously that's on your guys' merch site over there. Again, we like I said, can I just ask, Adam or Alexa, did you have something quickly to say to the boys before they head off?
No, I thank you guys for coming on. It's been a while, so I thank you for joining us.
Oh, for sure, man.
Thank you.
It's a surprise to see them. I saw them Friday, so it was very pleasant surprise.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on Friday.
No, please, thank you for having me.
That was a crazy day. That was a day that Blue and Jaime had to run the show for a little bit. I was in a car accident that day.
How are you feeling?
I'm a lot better than I was. I was sore for the last few days.
Yeah,
still a little bit
your
sore.
fault, right?
You should go to the doctor anyways, just to make sure. Check.
Yeah, I probably am. I had a back injury, and that's kind of what ended my law enforcement career. So I still go to physical therapy for it and stuff, like even 12 years later, and so it didn't help. Needless to say, it didn't help. Yeah, I was rear-ended. It was not my fault. Fortunately, we were going not very fast. We're in front of a high school. And I stopped, and the guy behind me, I don't know if he was on his phone or what he was doing, just completely boom, hit me in the back.
Yeah, and paying attention.
Please tell me the baby wasn't there.
No, it was just me.
Thank God.
Yeah, it was just me. I was going to go pick up my other daughter from her mom, And that's what ended up making me late, is I had to wait there because this guy didn't even have a license. And so I was like, are you freaking kidding me?
Oh.
And so I had to wait. It would have been just a normal, like, they're called blue forms here, where you just get each other's information and go about your day, because it was just a fender bender.
Right. Yeah.
It wasn't anything too serious. Like, there wasn't a lot of damage there. But then he didn't have a driver's license, and so I felt like I needed to make sure that I called the authorities and had them come through. But I thank you so much for coming on the show that day and going through the handwriting and everything else. I had one question for you. I forgot to ask you. Do you think? I think you did answer this question, but do you think Bryan Kohberger is right-handed or left-handed?
Right-handed.
That's right. You did tell me that he was right-handed.
Yeah, I said right-handed. I think. I mean, I don't know, but I think somebody told me that he's right-handed, but I'm not sure. Somebody said that they saw him, but I'm not 100% sure. But I think he is, but I don't know.
So
that was a comment on my channel a lot. Was he right-handed or left-handed? I was like,
I know. I never read comments. I read some of them. I love the one that called me the Nancy Grace, and I was like, thank you. I was like, oh, she's one of my idols. I was like, thank you, appreciate it. So you know what it is? People get upset because obviously, I am giving my opinion. Yeah. And obviously, I am being biased because what I have seen so far, to me, it screams guilty. Yeah. That's how it is. So, and another thing is, I mean, I have no attachments. I mean, also I was reading there was another profiler that went on TV, and people were like trashing her and saying, oh, she doesn't know, how dare. And I was just like, we're giving our opinion, but it's our opinion. And based on what we know, what you study, blah, blah, blah. So why are people getting so upset? I mean, we don't have any relationship with the case, so we don't have to, be, impartial. And so, I mean, it is what it is.
Like I said, that's the hard part about the internet. Everybody's going to have their opinion, and there's a lot of opinions about us.
Yeah, I know. I got one nasty email, and I was like, at first I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be offensive. And then I was like, no, I wasn't offensive. I said what I
got a saying about opinions. Everybody has opinions, like everybody has buttholes.
Yeah.
Everybody has one, and they all stink. And so it doesn't matter.
Always the thing that gets me, though, is in no way. So I'm going to have my opinion, and it might differ than Alexza's. At the end of the day, my expertise is not a criminal profiler, a handwriting expert, or a body language expert. So, of course, that person to me, unless they're a total wackadoodle, that person to me, like, I'm not even going to stand whatever. I might have a different opinion, and I still could be right, but that's a career that somebody has had. Like a police officer, I can't sit there, or a lawyer,
Right.
And we can be wrong, because we've been wrong. I mean, we're not perfect all the time either, and we don't make it 100, because nothing is 100%. And we have. I mean, I made mistakes. I've said things that then they don't come out. I've said things that have been right too. But then people always remember that one mistake you make, or they're waiting for that one mistake. It's like, how dare you did you say that? So it is what it is. I mean, I don't mind.
Yeah.
As long as I didn't scare all your viewers away.
No. Like I was gonna tell you, I've been on a show one time, and it was with what's his name, Doc Skinner. I was on Doc Skinner's show.
I remember that show.
And they invited us to come on there, and we're just gonna talk about space and stuff, because we also do space and aliens. But I'm just a normal guy. I don't got no degrees in any of that stuff. Right? and he puts me up with this panel, and everybody there was like a physicist, a doctor, and he was a professor at Stanford, and I'm like,
oh Lord,
the stars are bright at night. That's the most I could say.
People are coming out with equations and parietal theorems and things of that nature, and Blue's just like, yeah, man, I'm drinking some beer.
Like the reverse gravity pull, and then there's a black hole here. I'm like,
I know.
That's nice theory, yeah. So.
I was on the road. I couldn't jump on with him and help him.
Let me just see, because that happened to Linda from True Crime. So Linda from It's a Crime or whatever it is, or whatever it is, It's a Crime. For Linda, she was on this show and she had all these experts and all that, and you could just feel her awkwardness. It's almost like I talk about shows and I know some stuff, but she's up against talking with freaking these lawyers and all these people, and you could just feel it. And I felt bad for her because you could just see she felt out of place because what their level was to what her level was about talking in a sense and understanding. And she would even be the first one to say like I felt out of place a bit there because I totally get it there. Big Blue.
But they still know my name, so hey.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, but anyways, you guys, thank you guys so much. Again, thanks for stopping by after your live with us, and stay you and stay true and Blue. Next time I'm gonna have.
Say hi to Jaime.
Oh yeah,
we'll do. We'll tell him he's out getting his chest shaved, and so. If you're not on, you become a victim of some crap talking. So.
He shaved my back, but he's into the front.
Oh my god!
You got to watch the intro to the last video, not the one today, the one on Monday.
Yeah.
That was probably the funniest thing ever.
On what day? The one that you just did on Monday?
Yeah, the one we did on Monday. Just watch the first. Yeah.
It's funny because today I even went into your page and your community page, and I didn't see a live schedule, and I didn't even get a thing. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, we had gotten word that Bryan Kohberger, his parents were at a grand jury for his
so
parents, and so we decided to wait till the last minute to put up the video because the last time we put up something like that throughout the day. A specific person who is talking smack about us now, basically ran with our idea, but was so wrong about it. Like,
of course,
like they went off left field. I can't even remember what it was. And
female's creator.
Yeah, she stole some things, a 3D model of some stuff.
I know. Okay.
Yeah. Not mention names.
Yeah, I'm not gonna mention the name. She had a problem with Lena from Truth and Transparency, and because she thought Dave was Enan Harsh, and she sent me a message saying, "Hey, Dave is Enan Harsh," and I'm like, "No, he's not. I've seen his face. I've had a video conference with him. I've seen his ID. We validated who he is." No, but she's lying to you. I was like, Lena didn't have anything to do with my vetting of who this person was.
Yeah.
100%. Like, he reached out to us, he reached out to her separately, and I think she reached out to her first. I don't know, but he came forward after listening to Kim talk about how her daughter was aware of the crime at like 9:30 in the morning, and or at 10 o'clock in the morning, and he was like, you know what, she's right, we were aware like at 9:30, or at least he was aware at 9:30, and it kind of dawned on him. He's not a true crime guy. Like,
right.
He's in college, he's under the age of 25. Like, our demographic, and this is what I actually had to send him a picture of because he was getting kind of flaky, like he didn't want to come out on our show. Yeah. And I was like, I don't think you're gonna get caught, man, or found out of who you are. Our demographic is 82% female and all above the age of 30. So I think under 30, I think at 20, like under 25 was 0.7%, which is basically just Big Blue. And so he's our 0.7% viewers under the age of 25.
Yeah, so, I'm the only one that knew what a Borg was,
Yeah. So, I mean, I've heard that interview, and to be honest with you, he sounded very. I mean, his voice, his cadence, his tempo, everything seemed very. There was just one or two questions that I don't think specifically he was being deceptive. I think he didn't know, and instead of saying "I don't know," he kind of like arranged it. So there was like two questions that you asked that he kind of went around. I don't remember specifically. I think one was when you were asking, what was the thing? there was something that you asked him if he knew before or after. Oh, about the guy that saw that allegedly saw Bryan at the park or at the little field, and he's like, did he know before? Did he say this before he got arrested or after? And he couldn't. But instead of saying I don't know, he kind of moved it around, and that sounded like even his voice. You can hear it. It went really high and then drops.
Yeah,
And
I'll be honest with you.
tempo.
I didn't like his answer there either.
So I was like, ooh, okay.
I
be
was
receptive.
I was going to say this. I could say the same thing actually, because when I was watching that, I mean, I honestly just took him that, you know, I didn't take him for being deceptive or a fake or a fraud and stuff like that. But they're right. Sometimes people are, you know, like instead of just saying you don't know, just, you know, just I don't know. I don't know. Shoot.
I do have his interview that I had with him. I'll have to ask him. I'm sure he doesn't have a problem with it because I've sent it to other people. You know, as long as you guys promise not to share the video with anybody or who he is, because at the end of the day,
you know, we don't do that stuff.
Right. Some of the things that he said could lead back to some people in high places.
Absolutely. He can even be on a live. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And so his life is more important than any person that wants to know who they are. And so I would want to send that to you so you could see his body, because we found him to be very credible. You know, when we talked to him,
he sounded.
He was very emotional, especially when it came to his buddy there. Like I've talked to the boys there, and I've talked to the guys at Publicly Buzzed and at the Opinionated Idiot, and you know they all agree that he's being honest, he's being real. I think Bryan from the Opinionated Idiot, he questioned the timingness of when he dropped this, and I think he doesn't. You know, we have to understand that not everybody in the world watches our channel,
right?
And not everybody in the world is like completely invested, or even people that are from there are vested into this kind of content,
right?
And so, you know, he's not a true crime guy. He only started following Truth and Transparency because they started covering Emma Bailey and Demetrius Robinson, and our channel was recommended to him because of him watching
Truth and Transparency.
And so he caught the live with WSU Kim.
Yeah,
that was the first time he talked to us. Or he had seen us, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And he emailed me that night. He sent me pictures of his bedroom and how close he was. As you could see from his bedroom window, the 1122 Keene Road residence.
Well, that was really the only thing I thought to myself. Well, before that point, I was like, well, there you go. I mean, how many people have a clear view of the bedroom window from where they are? Obviously, he's in that vicinity then. Even if you're assuming your phone in, you know, you're still within that. And I think if I'm not mistaken, I did hear the word crescent circle or crescent or whatever, you know, because you guys all know that down from King Road is that crescent circle. So that's the only thing I was thinking, like, ooh, if anybody does listen to you, they're probably might have a gist of who you are.
Who you are,
information. What do you think about that now that I just said that? Because that's what you guys were saying on your show. And that's where I was like, ooh, close. Enough to take
somebody that knows him, even if they don't know the voice and everything, the mannerisms. I guess, you know, you can, you know, if you know him, you will hear the mannerism, the way he speaks, the way he pronounces certain words. I mean, he's very well spoken, I have to say.
I'll say this. I'd rather keep it like I told him the other day. I was like, "Hey, man, your identity is safe. You're the number one theory about who you are is even harsh, and so your identity is safe." And he's like, "I don't even know who that is," and I was like, "Yeah, man." I was like, I just told him, I was like, "Man, because he was really concerned that some of his fraternity, you know, friends are going to find out, and they're not going to be too keen on him coming forward about some
deny, right? You just deny,
right? and you know, he talks about how he knows certain people, why he doesn't know certain others that kind of reveal who he is, and or how he's connected or who he's
Yeah.
connected to. And, because we've had, like, for instance, Publicly Buzz ask us if they can release part of that interview that I sent them, just the audio only, but distorted voice. And I was like, nah, man, because there's just so much information in there about who he is.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
And so, I gave him the name Dave. He didn't come up with it or anything. I did. I was like, I'm going to call you something I can remember. And so I don't even want to remember his real name because I'm afraid I'm going to say it one day.
Like
so,
Kim.
Well, Kim, see, with Kim, she called into our show and said her name was Kim. So
She said her name was Kim. Yeah.
Yeah, but what was the name that you kept calling her?
Oh, I kept calling her Pam.
Yeah.
But
Sounds
Steve
like funny.
from Publicly Buzz called her Pam.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that. I saw that.
And I was like, and he's never met her, has never talked to her. And I was like, boom, you see how easy it is? You see how easy, especially once you get somebody's name in your head. And that happens to do with other people that are involved with Kim having names similar. It's not Pam, but similar. And I just got a lot of names confused and I called her Pam. And I call Blue, Sally sometimes. So it happens.
So just to for peace sake, did you ever ask him if he was at that Halloween party?
I didn't ask him if he was at the Halloween party, but he was at the party the night before the incident in that area.
But he had never seen Kohberger before.
No, he's never seen Kohberger.
Yeah.
And he asked his buddies; they've never seen him before. He said that they sent pictures around amongst the fraternity and stuff once he got arrested. And the only person that said anything about him was the guy that went back to the bank field looking for the item that he discarded.
Can you just, before you go, can you clear one thing up for me, you guys? Because this one is going to bug me. Can you just tell me, did you guys ever figure out why they got to know so early, like Kim said, and that they all got to know early, and then the police weren't called till 12? Like
he didn't know that police weren't called.
I can't remember. Yeah, I feel like
I asked him that, and what he had told me was that, when he woke up, then he looked at his messages, that his messages were as early as 9:30. He had assumed at that point that somebody had called 911. It didn't dawn on him that the 911 call didn't happen until noon. And that
would you think that maybe they were cleaning up?
I asked him that, and he said that he doesn't think that that's possible because that's a long time to be cleaning up. And I asked him about the amount of drugs that may or may not have been in that house. And he mentioned the words enough for 4 people to overdose.
That could be 4 fentanyls. That could be nothing.
Right. But it not being a fentanyl thing, that it would be enough for 4 people to overdose. And that there was enough activity in and around that house that it wasn't shocking that could be a situation that played out there.
Right.
But I think they had assumed that the police were called.
Because wasn't the original thing that sticks in my head is that whoever phone it was that called, they called, like, was it Ethan's best friend over? They called them first. And
Ethan's best friend is the one who called 911 eventually.
Yes,
I don't know how long he was there.
Yeah.
I don't know how long he was there or when he got called to the house. He may have been the one that called 911, but he may not have been the first one to arrive.
No, but they said that actually, what I heard, and this is off the record, that it was actually a girl that one of the roommates that called first, and then she couldn't finish talking, and somebody else picked up the phone.
Right. I heard that as well, and Dave kind of said something similar to that it was Bethany's phone.
We heard that too.
Yeah, I don't want to.
So
but it was Bethany.
That was the rumor around town that's what had occurred.
Yeah. But that's when they were outside, though.
But here's the thing: there was a crowd of people out there. The cops describe it being a crowd of people. How did this crowd of people get there? They didn't hear it from the news. They didn't hear it from. Somebody had to have told them.
Right. Exactly.
That's the only way they could have congregated out there. Somebody had to have told them.
It's just blowing me away that between that early time.
Now, my thought is maybe perhaps Kohberger locked the door. Allegedly, Kohberger, he would commit this crime. He goes in there, commits the crime, locks the door behind him. Right now, if you go and look at at the drone footage of the house, it appears that somebody recently had climbed on that ledge that was leaning towards where Xana and Ethan's bedroom is. I think that if somebody locked the door and they couldn't make entry into that area, that one of the other people there would have picked up the ladder, gone up there to see if they could see anything from the windows. Like, you can tell that somebody had just recently slid up. And so when you look at that image, let me see if I have it.
I remember you said that on Friday, but I never seen it. I never really paid
I'll
attention.
see if I have it.
The ladder in one video is shown laying sideways when the cops go inside.
Yeah, I remember you guys said
investigation.
that.
Yeah.
And then when they do the investigation, it's standing up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I was kind of confused about that.
All right,
So
if you share my screen, I'll show you.
All right, Mary.
So,
there's that ladder. Yeah.
There's the ladder. As you can see right here, where my
oh yeah,
that right there is a fade. You can see over here where it drips off the edge. Water will bubble up here and force the dirt to create that hard line that you see.
Right.
That's from the bubbled up melted water. Right here, that's a fade, as if somebody climbed up and down. Plus, you can see footprints going up against the side here.
Yeah, you can see the footprints right here.
Yeah, there's clear footprints and that fade right there. Plus, in all of the video that they have of police showing up, this ladder is on the ground. So my assumption is that perhaps if the door was locked, maybe they tried to climb up here to undo the window or to at least see. And it took them some time to make entry into that room. And by the time that they did and saw the scene, had been about an hour and a half or so, maybe.
Yeah, that was our theories in the beginning, that they probably broke into the window. But we were throwing out theories too when we first started,
I know.
It was interesting.
There's more stuff.
You can't deny that somebody slid off of there, because that's a fade. That's not a hard. That's not a hard line.
Mark. Yeah, that looks like fresh markings.
Right. Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
And so,
now, was it from that day, or was it from the 2 nights before? Because it's a college house,
Well, the
So,
ladder.
That's the thing.
right. You're right. It's possible maybe somebody jumped up there during the party, or those things.
Being goofy,
But
I guess.
my thought is, if you have people at this house for a long period of time, you have this up and you have this what looks like, clearly somebody climbing up here. My assumption is that they were trying to either make entry or get a visual of what happened inside that bedroom.
Yeah. And could be, Yeah.
And so,
could be. Unless it's a drunk that decided to have some fun and go up on there. Because we've seen the videos where there have been the guys up on the roofs as they're remember when the cops would come to that one house and there's some on the roof and
that's like 3 houses down.
Yeah. Anyways, well, I don't want to keep you guys unless you have something else that you're trying to point out on there. Yeah.
No, that was it. I was just looking at the fact that they had the lights on in the porch. There was a light on in what looks like Maddie's bedroom. And or a restroom, just some things that I haven't noticed before, but I did now. But to me, that's my only assumption, is that maybe perhaps he locked the door behind him. They called people because they couldn't make entry into the house or into their bedroom, and they were calling people to try to get into that bedroom. They weren't aware.
The person would have to be kind of tall, don't you think? Because even as Jeff is saying this, I was thinking the same thing. The ladder is just a little bit too short for getting up there, so you'd probably have to slide on your belly a bit to kind of pull yourself. In my head, when I was looking at the ladder, I was like, oh, maybe it's like it was a taller person that that got up.
Well, if it was Ethan's best friend that was there and trying to make entry into that area, that guy's like 6'5", 6'6".
Yeah,
right.
And it's not that. It is a smaller ladder. I had an image. I don't think I have it anymore. I probably do somewhere, but there was an image where there was 2 officers they had a drone and they were looking at that ledge, and they were standing right by that ladder, and it's probably about 2 feet from the ledge. But you're right. Somebody would have to slide on their belly, which would explain that fade that's right there on the edge of that ledge.
Yeah. My question is, when the officers describe, obviously you were a former officer, is the smell, the distinctive, and we all know that. And I mean, once you smell that odor of blood, you will never forget it. The thing to me is, the officer said as soon as he parked in the driveway, he could smell it. How come? I mean, I wonder if nobody smelled it, I guess. Or they didn't pick up the smell.
Maybe their noses were clogged.
Yeah,
maybe. I mean, there was supposedly a rumor that the door was open at 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, 9 o'clock in the morning. So,
yeah,
you have inexperienced people here. There's a possibility that there was that smell, and they just didn't know what it was.
I'll tell you what. The other day, it had been a while since I've smelled dry blood. And somebody came in with pretty dry blood, and it's a bad smell. You can smell it.
I can't even picture what it smells like.
It's horrible. Copper.
Yeah, a little bit copper, irony smell.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, but it also goes, after many hours of the body. I mean, once you smell, once you smell a dead body, you will recognize the smell immediately. And it doesn't have to be a lot of hours because it starts
right. And then you also have the intestines smell probably because of the gouges. That you're probably smelling like a fishy type smell mixed with the iron and blood.
My husband says that. Just kidding. No,
and so the guts, you'll be able to smell those, especially if the injuries were to the extent that they said. But,
exactly.
Okay. Well, I don't want to keep you guys. Sorry. I know I'm very much aware that we've gone way past when you said you didn't have you needed to get going here, and
yeah. Well, I appreciate you having us on. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you guys, both of you.
It was nice seeing you. Bye. Say bye. Say hi to Jaime.
We will.
Have a good night, and thank you again.
Wait! Don't forget to send Dateline and whatever else you wanted to send Alexza there.
All right, yeah, I'll send you the Dateline and I'll send you guys that interview.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Take care.
Have a good night.
Thank you so much.
Feel better.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. That was nice. So next time, Alexza, we have to negotiate here. Next time, okay, we need to cut in this. Next time you go on their show, 300. Okay. You can have 50. I get 150. Adam. Okay, boys. Yeah, okay. Let's just look over your schedule, Alexza. Oh,
right.
Solidly booked for the next year. Yep. Okay. No. Anyways, that was so great. I wasn't sure if Blue was going to come on. That was really nice to see.
Yeah, that was.
That was very nice.
Big Blue. I can't help it. Big. I was thinking Blues Clues. That's Blue. Yeah. I really want to watch that Dateline video. I was trying to look for it the other night. Didn't see it, and I was like, everyone's talking about it, and it pisses me off. And that's when I wish I had TV. Like I have, the thing is that I got Prime on my frigging iPad, but because I don't have any space, and I'd have to delete something, and I was just like, come on, YouTube, you got to have it somewhere. Somebody pulled it off. So yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that. And you haven't seen it either, Alexza, you said.
No. I just saw a little piece, but no, I haven't seen it. I read a transcript, but I haven't seen it.
Okay. Is there anything that stuck out? Is there anything at all that stuck out there? Hey, are you in your house now?
Yeah, but on my mobile. But it's
I know.
So far it's been working. I mean, I got booted twice, but hopefully. Because usually I don't get good signal here, but today it's working. one thing, I mean, obviously we already spoke, the sister. I mean, but the thing is, what I didn't like about the special is that things are not corroborated. So we don't know what's true, what's a fact, and what's not a fact, because everything is allegedly right now.
Exactly.
So when they say the sister found it weird that we don't know if that's a fact. So that's the only thing I didn't like about this, that they didn't they didn't clarify it. And like they took things as fact. And then they were like, oh, and also like they reported that, for example, that that connection with that he had, that a colleague or a friend of his had like a stalking problem, and that he had asked to put the camera, blah, blah, blah. And then he used it for nefarious reasons, and he started stalking her, whatever. I mean, that they took it as an exclusive. That was an exclusive. I remember it wasn't Banfield, it was Como that actually said it about a month ago. About a month and a month, maybe three, maybe let's say a month ago. I remember that. And they put it as this is an exclusive. And that was an exclusive, but I mean, I don't know how they got away with that. Because I mean, that was already known. So
well, I was gonna say too, and a lot of people said that they just kind of rushed it out because of the Bryan Kohberger grand jury.
I felt that way.
Yeah.
I felt like there was, a few good pieces of information in it, sprinkled with a lot of conjecture, and then some recycled, almost like B-roll footage that they'd had from the last time they did a story on it. But the pieces that were new information were worth watching an hour, and I think without commercials, it's like an hour and 23 minutes.
Yeah.
At least when I watched.
I still want to watch it. Did you watch it? Obviously, you did. Okay. 2 secs.
Just
I have Peacock, so I watched it over the weekend.
I have it, but I mean, I have Peacock, but I didn't even know there wasn't Peacock. So I mean, I completely forgot. I didn't even think about it. I'll see if I can. I don't know if I can do it tonight. I don't think I can download it tomorrow, hopefully.
Here. Come on, I'm going to send this to Daniel. I forgot to mention it.
While you're doing that setting up, Shelley says, what about BK's parents called to testify at a grand jury? Is that for this case or a new case? Have you read anything about that, Alexza?
No, I just heard what Daniel said. No, I haven't.
Right.
I mean, the last thing I read was that they wanted to get the information from the grand jury, the Bryan and his attorney. That was the last thing I heard. But I don't have internet, so I don't know.
Yeah, Sunny, is the grand jury, is that for the other case that's I can't remember the girl's name, or is it for the Idaho case?
No, the grand jury, that's for the other person.
Right. But I know that in Pennsylvania, when they hold a grand jury, they can do it with the purpose also of sharing the information with another jurisdiction, I believe. So like anything that comes up in this grand jury, they can send to Idaho.
Correct.
And it'll be lawful and, constitutional, whatever you want to say. So I'll be right back. I just need a minute.
Oh, somebody's saying it was for Dana Smitters. Maybe.
Yeah, I'll show you guys that. I mean, I'll just quickly play that because I have it here. I really need to. I wonder if Blue's on Messenger. I need to ask Blue. Here it is, right here. I'll play that for a minute. It's 4 minutes long.
A pair of legal fronts. We're learning that the parents of accused killer of 4 Idaho students have been called to testify before a Pennsylvania grand jury. Their son, Bryan Kohberger, is charged in the gruesome stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students last November. He was arrested at his parents' Pennsylvania home nearly 2 months later. Kohberger's parents are reportedly being questioned about another case of a missing woman in Pennsylvania. Joining us with more now on the legal issues at stake is News Nation's senior national correspondent Brian Enton and News Nation legal contributor Jesse Weber. Brian, why are the police looking to talk to the parents about a case in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, this is an interesting development. We have confirmed that Bryan Kohberger's parents were called to testify in front of this investigative grand jury that has to do with this missing persons case. 45-year-old Dana Smithers, she went missing in June of 2022. Her body was just discovered about a month ago. We're told this is just an investigative grand jury, so it's not like they're trying to indict one specific person, but still, it's very, very interesting that they would subpoena and call in Bryan Kohberger's parents to come in and testify.
Jesse, what do you make of this?
So they're trying to determine if a crime was committed. I think that it should be important to note that Ms. Smithers disappeared in the same county where the parents live. So one possibility could be, is it about Bryan Kohberger committing a crime only a few months before he's accused of committing quadruple homicide? Or could it be that these are just residents of that community and they have just some ancillary information regarding the disappearance of Ms. Smithers? That could very well be a possibility. And the Kohberger front, I do think it's interesting considering one of the big factors we've always wondered is if Bryan Kohberger really did this to those 4 college students in Idaho, was this his first time?
Right.
It's such a brutal crime. And sometimes these killers actually do something before and it's found out later.
Well, it's not just such a brutal crime. It was incredibly bold. I mean, there were 4 victims. There was not just one victim. He allegedly murdered them in a way that was very up close and personal and very risky. There were witnesses in the house at the time, right, Bryan?
Yeah, absolutely. And important for me to point out, too, we also have a source close to the case in Pennsylvania who tells us that Bryan Kohberger has a very solid alibi in that case. What the alibi is, we don't know. Is it possible that somehow his parents are part of that alibi and that's why they wanted to call them in to get them on the record? Remember, I mean, you know, they don't have to talk to the police, but one way that they can require them to come in and talk is with a grand jury subpoena. But I found it very interesting that we were able to confirm that there is an alibi here, apparently, with Bryan Kohberger.
And very quickly, do we know if the parents, Kohberger's parents, have been cooperative with in law enforcement, you know, both in Idaho and in Pennsylvania up to now?
It appears they've been cooperative. I mean, we know that they are testifying. I mean, they're not, you know, fighting the subpoena from what we've been told. So they will go and testify to the grand jury. I mean, I'm not sure that they wanted to do that or that they would have just voluntarily done it with like a police detective, but they are going to cooperate with these grand jury subpoenas.
How unusual is this, Jesse?
Well, the idea that you have a suspect who's being implicated in another crime, we've seen that happen before. Again, we just don't know his connection to this case.
Right.
But the parents, in a case in a day where the parents of accused killers have really taken center stage, they're sometimes the people that have the most information. These killers sometimes, or these suspects, have relayed information to their parents, and they are the ones that you need to speak to.
All right, Jesse Weber, Bryan Enton, I'm sure we'll be hearing more about this case in the days ahead. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find.
So that was that one. Yeah. So interesting. Which brings me to, you know, a point that I sent it to Daniel, but just because the track went off of kind of things I was going to do. First, there's Aphrodite dropped a video today on Kohberger, and it actually quite left me jaw dropped because he's one of the ones that I watch from Delphi. He's a tarot card reader. But I remember, like, there's very few people that I really find more credible when it comes to a card reading, people that are really good at it. And I've experienced that in my own real life. And then there's people that just suck at it. But he did a really good one today. It's about 19 minutes long. I was going to do it on here, but we're already over the 2-hour mark. So I'm just going to, you guys, go watch this, okay, on the Kohberger if you haven't yet, because it's amazing what he's actually saying. Adam, did you watch it by chance? No, make sure you do, though. Like, honestly, make sure you watch it. One of the things he kept saying, and again, if you listen to it, and he kind of, you know, will always tell you, like, he should look at cases more, but he kind of doesn't. What you gonna do? felt like there was two things going off at the same time there. So we got a toy Airy. Hey, did you pop out of my chest? My little toy chest there, toy Airy. Anyways, welcome. Thank you for subscribing. So one of the things that he kept saying was that he kept feeling like he came across a piece of mail. And another thing he said was that there was he felt like there was some other person. I don't know. Do you guys got time for me to play it? I'll put it on 1.25 speed, or no?
That he was what? That he thought that there was another person involved on what he did, or that he was
Yeah. Well,
or that he was involved, or he did something else.
No, that he had done it. That he had done something before the.
I personally don't think so.
On the Idahos. Well,
I don't think he did it before.
Don't know. Either way, go watch that if you haven't. Okay, because seriously, it was quite jaw-dropping to me what he was saying out of his mouth, because I kept typing going, it's visual snow. He has visual snow. Because he kept trying to explain stuff, with what he was saying, and he's going, this guy's just weird. And he's like, it's like he has some sort of disorder going on here. He goes, and then he would use some sort of TV shows as a reference to try to explain what he was saying, and I'm just like, visual snow. But because I just want to go to that for a second there, because this was, again, and I think some people probably forget by now, but this was an account on Tapatalk, and it's EXARR. Those with visual snow on there, and
I put a video out. I put the video out with all of his posts in January, so I've forgotten some of it.
Well, exactly right, because but it's like I'm just gonna quickly read it if you guys don't mind, because again, just for remembering, okay? So it said, I have had this horrible depersonalization go on in my life for almost 2 years. I often find myself making simple human interactions, but it is as if I am playing a role-playing game, such as Oblivion. I can see what is going on. I'm slightly into it, but I can pause the game and focus on my real life. In this case, my life, the game, and my old self can be reached by pausing the game. But how? I often think of things that humans do, things that I have done my whole life. I feel like an organic sack of meat with no self-worth. As I'm starting to view everyone as this. So basically he's saying, right, everyone's basically a sack of basically piece of shit. And I'm starting to view everyone as this. Everything I have done, ever done, makes no sense. How do things get this way? How am I wearing this shirt? And who decided that all humans shall wear? Oh, I mean, I've been in that kind of thinking mode. I'll tell you that much. Who decided that we're going to wear shirts? Yeah. Anyways, or make bras. Are we all just advanced animals with possession, or is there more that I can't see? I can't connect. I view everything as if I would be playing Oblivion, pointless and full of nothing, out of the reality. I am moving out of my house. My last holidays were already lived, but where was I? As my family group hugs and celebrates, I'm stuck in this void of nothing, feeling completely no emotion, feeling nothing. I feel dirty, like there is dirt inside of my head. My mind, I'm always dizzy and confused. I feel no self-worth. I am intelligent, but I feel the opposite. I say things I don't mean. The last holiday in my house, the house I grew up in, the house I once contributed to, the house I once felt at home in, is past. As I hug my family, I look into their faces. I see nothing. It is like I'm looking at a video game, but less. I feel then mentally damaged. It is like I have severe brain damage. I am stuck in the depths of my mind where I have to constantly battle my demons. Am I here or am I fake? I feel myself slipping away. I hear screams faintly, but I constantly battle away from it. What if I let go? Where would I be? would I ever come back to reality? I try to remember where I originated from, but I can't. I barely remember my childhood. I often fear being 80 years old, alone, and having faint memories of my parents, everything I missed out on. Yeah, he's going to be in jail. I think about my father, what a good man he is, how I treat him.
Interesting.
Yeah, how I treat him like dirt because I have this condition and I can't take it. I might spiral out of control and lose my mind in the void. I can't let it all go. All of these regrets I predict for my future self. All of these thoughts of remorse. I got this way when I was in my stage of discovery. Now I look in the mirror and I see this sickly, tired, useless, stupid man in it. In he mirror, whatever. He is a complete disgrace. He doesn't deserve to live. I remember when I was 15, I would wander alone at 2 a.m. Everything was so generic. Nothing felt like home. I saw things that were not there, a different reality. I felt eerie and alone. I died during those nights. I felt like a criminal, but where was my record? I can't talk without flinching now. Oh, there you go. I can't talk without flinching now. I used to be a healthy blonde-haired boy with blue eyes, and in a few years I have dark hair and dark eyes, half the body weight. Where did I leave off? I try to sleep. I try to clear my head, but the pressure won't go away. The pain and depression won't leave. Being me in this horrible disease that I was given, I think of this as I succumb to sleep, but I see the intensity of black, yellow, white fuzz. It makes my mind fizzle, and I can barely keep it in the bounds of reality. It is as if this ringing in my ears and fuzz in my vision is simply all of my demons in my head mocking me. I fall asleep, but I wake up quickly to bloody screams. Is anyone here, or is any of this here? Am I brain damaged? No. Then why am I like this? I have these thoughts in my head. I search for someone to relate to me. Everyone looks down upon me, and no one can relate. As I try to read, suddenly my eyes look right through the words. When I look up, I see blue dots near the center of my vision. When I feel slightly calm, it gets hard to breathe. I see bright dots in my vision. Nothing I do is enjoyable. And then it said there was a little bit more to that, guys. But anyways, and then here was his things again, that I always feel as if I'm not there, right? And he says mental experience, fog, lack of comprehension, feel like my life is a movie, depersonalization, depression, no interest in activity, constant thoughts of suicide, crazy thoughts, delusions of grandeur, right? Narcissism, anxiety, poor self-image, poor social skills, no emotions. I feel like nothing I have done up to this point. When I get home and I am mean to my family, this started when VS did. I felt no emotion, and along with that depersonalization, I can say and do whatever I want with little remorse. And then it says, everyone hates me. I'm pretty much an a-hole, you know? So for anyone that forgot about, say all that stuff, you know, like when I read it, honestly, well, hey, Alexa, going back to that, when you hear those words, and I know it's a little bit different sometimes when you read it yourself, like, what are you thinking?
I mean, the first thing, a couple things I want to say about this. One is the visuals. No, it would be interesting to, hopefully we'll get to find out if it's true or was he diagnosed with it, because first of all, it's extremely rare. And I told you that I know about visual snow because my she's not really my friend. I would say somebody I went to school with. Her father suffered from visual snow, or has visual snow. And 2%. That's why as soon as I heard, and that's why I remembered, and I even asked her. So it's extremely rare. Like even in the whole world, it's like something like there's Alexa, not a lot of cases. Yes?
It's 2%.
Okay. See?
I looked it up. It's 2%.
Oh, really? 2%? That oh, I thought it was going to be more. Okay, so that's one of the things that I was like, okay, there. Number two is, okay, he gets diagnosed with this, and the parents don't do anything. That I would like to know. Obviously the parents had to know because he was under their health insurance, I'm assuming, and you cannot put a kid in Topomax at 15 without the parents knowing. Question. I think what he's describing, I think is disassociation, where he feels trapped in his body. But I think his tendencies, like you guys were saying, I think is not so much, I don't know, narcissism. I think, yes, but I think sociopath. And I always keep going back to, I think he is a sociopath. And what he's describing is those ideas of, why, before, and that's, because a lot of people are going, is he a psychopath? And I know nowadays you don't call them that, but in my profession, that's what we used to call them. And that's how we put sociopath, psychopath. And I think this is where, because he said that he was able to feel before, and he even mentions the blonde hair, blue eyes, and then the dark hair, dark eyes. And that's, I think, to me, that screams sociopath. And I think he's feeling that he's feeling that there he is, his family's being nice, his father's being abrasive, and he doesn't feel it. And I at one point you feel bad. I mean, I remember when I read this, and I know I'm gonna get in the comments, I'm not saying that what he did, that I excuse him in any way, shape, or form. What he did is a heinous war crimes that he never should have done.
Right.
But I wonder if the parents would have been more involved, or if this would have been corrected, would we have the outcome that we had?
If he had,
you know what I mean?
Because we don't know, but if he had been going to therapy or whatever or something, because it's almost like he was fine, and then he entered this world that seemed to be, I don't know, like from gaming or bad anxieties going on or whatever. Because
I think it's also people around him bothering him for his weight, and I think that's when this whole thing starts too.
Could be,
and reading all of these things as well, I think they were a recipe for exactly what happened, which was him becoming allegedly a drug.
Yeah.
Then later,
Yeah. Right. I mean, all I feel is that his brain was, you can, like, for me, when I'm reading that, it's just like, and only because for anyone that's ever been in, had bad anxiety, I can only talk, like, I can only feel my own. And so, when I was when I first ever experienced anxiety, it was because I was freaking high on weed. I was staring at the white wall, and I had smoked weed and pot, whatever, right? And I was looking at the wall in front of me, and all of a sudden my mouth was going very dry. The wall was moving forward. And I remember, and this is in my very abusive relationship, the first one I had. And I remember that I needed to get up because I started feeling panicky. Like I was just, this wall's moving in, my ex, and I don't know, like he was always usually hitting me at some point or kicking me or something. But anyways, I laid down on the bed, and then it's like my eye, like I was aware, but it's like I had this quick vision of myself stabbing my Dion with a butter knife. It was only a butter knife. It wasn't no freaking blade. It was a butter knife. And because I would never hurt a fly, and if anyone knew me, I literally couldn't hurt a fly. So for me to experience that I even entered that into my head sent my brain into a shock for about a year. For about a year, I had tunnel vision. Okay. And I was about, I want to say I was like 19 or 20 years old at this time. It was the first time I experienced anxiety. So for every day after that, for a few years to come, I would literally have to watch a comedy show before I went to bed, because my brain told me, why would you even think such a thing? You wouldn't hurt a fly. I scared my brain so bad that I literally had tunnel vision. When I say that, it's like I'm there, but I'm a zombie. I'm looking straight ahead. I can see things, but off to my peripherals on each side, it was blurry. I was in a tunnel vision. I don't know how to explain it. So it took me a long time to grasp, because I was just in a state of shock in my brain that I could even picture such a thing. So as I'm having anxiety, I would be sitting there. And if that thought even entered my head, I was like, no, 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 scoot, scoot, get out of there, get out of there. And so then I had to, like, I would have to get up, I would have to go outside, you know, I would have to try to do anything I could to stop my brain from reminding me of that thought that I had. Because then in my head, I was like, if I'm having that thought, am I a bad person? You know, like, you have to understand too, I was, like I said, in a very abusive relationship, and I can't remember if we were fighting at that moment or not, because all the time he was abusive. And so I know as I got older that I guess I can understand why that thought went into my head. But for me, knowing I wouldn't hurt anybody, how could I even think such a thing? How? I must be a bad person. So I started going through these years of just trying to deal with this really horrible anxiety that I had, all because of that one instant. That finally, after about a year, you know, once I let my brain or something justify that, hey, look, that was just a split second thought. Like, you're not a bad person. You're, you know, did it. But then, you know, like years had gone by once I got rid of it. Then years went by, and all of a sudden, this heat wave went through my body of that anxiety feeling again. Something happened where that memory came back. And it's not like I forget about it now, and up until actually really right now, but I forget about it. And so anyways, so that memory came back in my head. And this overwhelming, and then my husband, I went out and I was like, husband, which is my husband now. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm having a really bad anxiety attack. And all I could think was, you know, about this stupid thing. And I'm like, I can't hurt him. Like, get away from me. Don't touch me. Like, stay away. I want him to come to me, but yet by the same token, I'm trying to deal with these thoughts in my head. So as I'm reading Bryan Kohberger's thing, it's kind of like, for me, I had to one day say, look, anxiety, F you, basically, in a nice way. F you, get the frick out of my head. I'm done with feeling anxiety because I never had experienced it for all those years. And I was just like, screw you. So
did you ever go to therapy?
No, never. Because I was in my life, we didn't do stuff like that. Like, at least how my brain was programmed. You have a brain that God gave you. You can use it. I don't need freaking pills or whatever is what's my belief. Okay. Even going through the divorce and depression, I never popped any pills or anything. I told myself to, you know, fucking pull up your pants. You freaking quit whining, buttercup, and, you know, just take control. So that's what I do. I look to my mom's strength whenever I feel like I'm in a position of zoop, and I look to my mom's strength. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, as I'm reading his thing, when I remember being in those anxiety moments, and it's almost like I said, all this evil thoughts all of a sudden are around you, and but it's almost like you're creating them yourself. And that's kind of how I felt when listening to some of what he was saying there, that it's almost like I was no extent near what he was talking about, but I couldn't help but think, you know, he's a deep thinker, and he was saying, like, how did this shirt get on me? Who said that we're going to create shirts and make people wear shirts? And I get into deep thinking like that. So my brain is that of a thinking brain. His brain seemed to have it. I feel like he was just in this constant anxiety mode or something, you know, that where it's like, it just reminds me of when I was in anxiety, and it's more like these bad thoughts and little demony voices in your head start coming along. And I'm like, you know, knowing that I'm fucking a sane person. And that's why it was hard on me, because it was like, where the heck are you coming from? Like, scoot, you know? So that's why it scared me so bad that I got tunnel vision, because I just couldn't understand how like that could even enter a mind. And then I remember my husband saying to me that, you know, one time, because his dad really sucks, and his dad was always like, you know, bashing on the boys and stuff. And I remember my husband saying to me that he had like a freaking hammer or something in his hand when he was in the workshop. and all he wanted to do was frickin' crack his dad's head open for all the abuse that he had done to the boys, and he wanted to, but he didn't. So it's kind of the same thing. My ex-husband was very abusive,
No, but I mean, there it's a little different because he was feeling the anger. He was allowing to feel anger. The thing with Bryan, and I think what you were saying, I think you experienced, I mean, obviously I'm not a psychologist and, you never went, we can call it anxiety. But I think with Bryan, I think he suffers, I mean, he has an antisocial personality. And I think that's the root of, that's why he cannot connect with people. And even, and that's the typical 101 definition of a sociopath. Sociopaths, and when you call and they say, oh, but his eyes are very, they don't have emotion. That's how they are. If you ever seen a sociopath, that's how they are. And they even stare, like their stare. I remember I had one. I met one the first one that I encountered. And I remember, like, I'm the type, I'm very strong. I'm very strong-minded. I consider myself a strong woman. And I remember that I had to do this interview with this person, and I felt very threatened because it was almost, he was looking through me, and it scared me.
Yeah.
And I couldn't keep his eyes. I'm the type of person, I like seeing, when I'm talking to you, I like seeing into your eyes. I like,
same.
And I couldn't keep this, I would go down a lot, or,
because it was creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let me ask you, Alexza, and even Adam. So, I mean, obviously there's some visual snow going on. Like, I mean, I was listening to visual snow and looking else. Now, if it's true that he had visual snow, but why would he, maybe, like, I'm thinking to myself, why would he lie back in 2011 about having this? So I know that there's hallucination. I know that, there's anxiety and a few things that go with it. But this is like beyond even that scope. It seems like it's like, I don't know. What do you think, Adam?
I don't think he would lie, but I think what would happen is maybe the doctor, when you're describing your symptoms to the doctor, sometimes the doctor might say, oh, you might have this, you might have that. But I wonder what tests were they done to say this is what he has. So that would be my first question, because, the doctor can say to me, I remember once, before they discover anything, they were like, you might have lupus. And I was in my head like, okay, I have lupus, and that's what I thought I had. And I was like, it checks, everything checks. I have pain, I have joints, and obviously I didn't have that. So I wonder what tests, he had. And my $1 million questions is the family. And how would the parents feel now going back and thinking, holy crap, I could have maybe saved him.
If they believe he's guilty.
If they believe he's guilty. I mean, I think they will. But I mean, you know your children. Even if you don't want to admit it, like I had an incident a couple of weeks ago that the principal called me and said, hey, your son punched a girl. And I said, my son? I said, the twin B? And they were like, yeah, twin B punched a girl. And I said, if you would have said A, I would have said, yes, he did. But B, I'm like, respectfully, I don't think so. And digging, and, I got to the school, the poor thing was puking, he was shaking, he was destroyed because they were accusing him. And he's like, they're accusing me, he was told that the police was going to be called. And what happened was the girl had the girl hit him in the face twice, purposely, and he just went like this to her back. So the girl lied, saying that he punched back. And then one of the assistant principals said to me, I think you're the type of parent that you don't want to see what your son is. And I said, my first thing that I said was, if you would have said to me, that's twin A, I would have said, yeah, he did. But, and your kids, I knew deep down in my heart that twin B wouldn't do that.
Twin B.
Yeah, I mean, twin A, yeah, you say, yeah, I would be like, hell yeah, he probably did. So your kids, and even if you don't admit it to the world, what your kids are capable of.
I agree.
And I think at this point, the parents probably are saying, I wonder if they're saying, oh my God. And this is what I always like to do with these cases. And I think this is why these cases are important in talking about it, is because we can prevent this from happening. And I always say to all the parents, especially with the mass shooters and everything, there are signs. You can see that. Maybe when you're there, sometimes when you see a problem with your child, don't brush it off. Don't be embarrassed.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing to be embarrassed. Just take him to a professional.
Yeah.
Like right now, I'm having a little bit of problems with one of the twins. He's having a little bit of aggression. So my thing, I even told him, is we have to go get help because he's angry. He's having aggression, and I don't know why, because he has, in my head, he has everything to be happy. What's going on? So, and don't be ashamed, because there's nothing nowadays. There's nothing to be ashamed, but do that to prevent, because you don't want to get, you don't want to get into a point that you brush it off and then your child becomes this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think this is the biggest take is know your kids.
And I think by nature, boys especially, when you hit puberty or adolescence, I think it's natural for boys to start to internalize things much more than girls do. And I think that if you don't address certain things by the time, and I don't have children, so I'm not speaking as a parent, but I think that if you don't address things by adolescence, with boys, it's harder to get to the root of it after that, because they become silent, they become quiet, they become internal, and they don't talk as much. And it's hard to know what they're thinking.
Yeah, that's my son right there too.
I think you talk better than any parent. I mean, than some parents that I know. I think you're a better parent than some of the parents I know.
Well, Adam would make a great parent.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah. He's in tune with himself. You can tell. And the thing is, Alexza, this is what always strikes me though, is like and it doesn't matter whose home it is, but like there's 4 of us that grew up. Yeah, I have like 8 total, but the other ones were with their mom, even though it was the same dad. But in our home, when my brother was with us, and that, like I said, my brother from when he was come out of that vagina was a little kleptomaniac, pretty much. And it's just, again, you can live in the same house, go through the same thing, but yet you got, say, 2 good ones and 2 bad ones, or 3 good ones and 1 bad one, that you're just like, but we grew up in the same house. But for me, it's always about the person. Like for me, only because my memory, I can remember from when I was like a year old and 2 years old. I mean, I don't remember everything, but I have very distinct recollections. And my twin, how she is today, is exactly what she showed signs of back when we were kids. Her personality wise. Like I know it's nature and nurture type of thing, but for me, it will always be in my head that when we come out of that sliding little spot, that little slider there, that we already have a set kind of personality going on, because I remember it. I can remember Kenny's personality, Paula's personality, my personality, Tanya's personality, being a little child, right? And that's why for me, if people don't have recollections of when they were babies and stuff like that, then for me, it's, I can only go based on what I feel. And I just feel like that, like my brother kind of came out a little shithead. Like he was like, I'm not even kidding though. Like my brother was stealing when he was freaking 3 years old. And right, it was different. Like he would steal money, like he would just steal. And so it was a stigma that stayed with him, like even to this day, because he was a little klepto. And I'm like, at 3 years old, how are you even thinking to steal? Like, do you know what I mean? But anyways, and then Paula was like the troublemaker. She was the one that would run away in that. But I always find it fascinating. Thank you, sweetheart. I always find it fascinating how people can grow up in the same household. You get the evil one, or maybe the not so good one, depending. And then the good ones. And I'm just like, the people that turn out to be like a freaking Ted Bundy and, and I guess like, I don't know. I just feel like with Bryan Kohberger, like, I just feel like his wires were freaking just crossed. Like, I just feel like his wires got crossed. Whatever issues or whatever crossing of the wires happened in his brain, I don't know. Like,
no, it has to be. It has to be, because imagine what kind of person. Let's go with the narrative, 2 narratives, whether he was stalking or he got upset. What person, and everybody has gone to that point that probably you can unalive somebody. I get it. But where does it come a thought that I'm going to say, I'm going to do it, or me wanting to do it, to crossing that line of saying, I'm going to do it? So
Right.
that person, obviously, when you cross that line, there has to be something that, you're not like the rest of us. And that's why sometimes,
Right.
When we talk about all these subjects, a lot of people are like, they can't believe, they don't understand how can a person. And I always trying to explain is because you don't think like that. We are not this, we cannot put ourselves in their shoes because we're not like them. We are wired differently. And those people, some of them are just, unfortunately, I don't want to say mistakes because God doesn't make mistakes, but some of them come defective. Let's say factory defective, like the psychopaths.
That's a good word, factory defective.
Yeah, factory defective, because they're in their brain. And the thing you go is like, what happens? It's not their fault because they are born like that. Like their wiring in their brain actually is not the same like ours.
Right.
So what do? Obviously, not every psychopath is a person that unalives, but most people that are unalive are psychopaths.
Right.
So,
but when you have those ingredients mixed with whatever situation in their life happens that activates those ingredients, I think you get what happened in Bryan's case, allegedly.
Yeah.
I really want you guys to watch the Ant for Date though, because it's only 19 minutes long and it's packed full of a bunch of stuff that I think you guys are just gonna agree with, really. I believe Bryan Kohberger had a split. I believe Bryan Kohberger has been fighting demons for a long time, and then
I think a lot of it stems.
Yeah. No, go ahead. Finish.
I believe a lot of it stems back to the role. I think he probably has. I think his wires are crossed, but I think a lot of it does stem back to the roles that his parents probably played in his life, and I think that shaped how he views men and women, probably in general. And personally, and I'm just my speculation, which I don't do a ton, but I don't think Bryan viewed his father as an alpha, and I think that partially could have brought on some of his aggressive feelings towards females, because I think he grew up in a female-dominated household, which I think is wonderful. I think everyone would be so lucky, but I think in Bryan's case, he took some of that as a negative. Resented that.
Well, and if you notice the parents, I don't know if you've seen the father. I saw the father once, and even the body language, like it was the mother and the sister, and they were holding each other, and the father was just in the back, like a few feet back. It was almost like he was removed from the situation, and I was like, it really caught my eye.
Right, and he might be a wonderful man. I'm not saying anything about
him.
He just doesn't come across to me as an alpha male, and whereas I see the female family seem to be much more
the mother,
the leaders.
Perfect. Thank you, Diana. Diana, thank you for subbing as well. Thank you so much for becoming a member. Sorry, not subbing, but becoming a member. Sweet. Thank you. Now you can play with the emoticons. But what I wanted to point out is in that the version of that letter, this one here, he only really mentions his father. He says, my father is such a good man. He doesn't say anything really about his mom, sisters. He's just saying the one thing that he does talk about is my father was such a good man. And that's what kind of stood out to me, not mentioning really his mom so much, but making the note. So in saying that, I think you're kind of probably saying the opposite of what I'm thinking, maybe, Adam, then.
No, I think he's saying the same. I think what he's saying is that he's, the father was, basically the one that he wanted to be almost the role model. Right. But instead of being the role model, because he wasn't strong enough, he is, I think that's what Adam's trying to say. And I think in the letter, that's what he's trying to say, that, his father's such a good man. And there I am being a jerk to him. I think that was the word that he uses, and not knowing why. But I think it's part of it is because I think he doesn't identify with the father. I think that's why he mentions the father, because he doesn't relate to the father.
Yeah, but he's such a good man that he wishes he was like that. And Fig's in the house, guys. He says, hi to my favorite people, and hey, Aspen. Just, hey,
Huh.
Aspen. That's kind of what Tom said too. Yeah, he's like, oh, it's sunny. Oh, hey, Aspen. Hey, Fig.
Fig Mutant Sauce. Hey, good to see you. I forgot for a minute. You're.
It's almost. Yeah. See, I can't forget Fig. Sorry, but I can't forget Fig. And then Tom, like I said, I mean, I'm just curious if Fig has a recliner like Tom has. You know, he's just sitting back in his recliner, going.
Fig only sits upright at all times. Fig did do an interview with Nick from True Crime Garage, who just wrote a book. So definitely check out his video that he posted yesterday because it was a great interview. I heard.
I have to go watch it. I haven't watched it.
Somebody said, "Hi, Babs."
Second best interview I heard that was on YouTube yesterday.
Yeah. How much does Fig follow Kohberger's case? Like, do you follow Kohberger's case?
You know, I haven't talked to Kohberger's case very much at all.
Yeah. You know, CD was always really into it. Now, you know, but CD always has, like, you know, CD's an absolute family man too. You know, and I know Fig.
Did CD do the live the other day? Because I know he had it for one day and then he changed it, and then I don't even know. I didn't follow if he had it at the end. I think it was for May 18. I think.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I've got a message I need to respond to you for CD's for mentioning him.
Hi, bro. One day when I'm an adult and I'm big and famous on YouTube, I'm gonna have an office just like Fig. I'm gonna have a separate room than my bedroom.
Yeah. No, if Fig has an office, he even drives there every day.
Yeah, it's that far away, right? Yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, I used to have a quaint office until my brother-in-law came with a fireplace in the background. You know, it was my little space over in the corner. You know, there's just me and my little space. That space is now in the bed. So when my husband decides that he wants to go to bed and then he hears this, he hates it. He's like, can you just go on your iPad, please? You know, he's like, I'm going to get my keyboard.
Here, bad boys, bad boys.
What you going to do? It's more like bad girls here. Bad girl, girl, what you gotta do? Yeah. And Bray Jones pushing the P. So anyways, so with Bryan Kohberger, like I said, you know, Drunk Kirky Show, he did send over that Dateline live. I'm yet to see that. I was really looking forward to wanting to watch that. I just, you know, was waiting for someone to siphon it to YouTube here so I could watch it on there. So I'm really looking forward to that as well.
Yeah.
Corner Street statements. The wounds were caused by a larger weapon. Hi, Tony.
Hey, Tony.
Tony. It's up in Aussie land. Corner statement says the wounds were caused by a weapon larger than that from the sheath. I read that as planted.
I think Tony is on the Bryan Kohberger is being framed narrative.
Oh, are you? I suppose Richard Allen's being.
Tony, you know I love you, but I'm going to disagree with you on that. But
yeah,
we'll see.
Was that said though? The corner statement says the wounds were caused by a weapon larger than that from the sheath. Was that said?
I never heard of it.
I did not hear that.
I didn't hear it either.
The only thing I heard is from the coroner. I remember they asked me and they said that there were so many stab wounds and that I think it was Ethan's legs were slashed. I don't want to be, I'm sorry, I don't want to trigger anybody or be too gruesome, but she said that she had never seen something like that.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that and see, like, see what it said that. I mean, if that's what it says, that's what it says. But go ahead.
Well, I think I mean, the one thing I always wanted to ask somebody is, okay, let's leave the DNA, the touch DNA, because it's little DNA they found, whatever. But I mean, just look at the actions. Drives around the area.
Yeah.
Okay. Even to so close that latches to the Wi-Fi. So another thing is, what kind of person? It's first of all in their own home wear gloves. And okay, let's say that you have OCD, okay, like we said, but I guess it was weird because even the family thought it was weird. So I don't think it was something that he always did. I think it was out of character for him to do it. Another thing is, what person takes their trash, puts it in a
Right.
Ziploc bag, and throws it in the
Right.
neighbors. I mean, only when I want to frame my neighbor or I want to throw something that I don't want to do, I throw it in my neighbor's thing. But you know what I mean. It's just that doesn't, to me, that doesn't say innocent. That's not that's not actions of an innocent person.
Yeah. An FBI expert identified a different model. The glove thing is clickbait.
Well, I mean, clickbait. I mean, clickbait is only clickbait if there's no validity to the content.
Yeah.
I mean, if Brian was wearing latex gloves on Christmas morning, I don't think that's clickbait.
That is not clickbait. No,
And it's
clickbait-
actually, wasn't that in the PCA also that they said when they arrested him, he was wearing gloves and he was standing in the, I think in the kitchen,
wearing gloves in the kitchen.
So that was fact.
Well, let's get this straight. First of all, clickbait is when you put something on your title and then you don't even talk about what it is that you're talking about. Like, for instance, there's this channel out there. I'm not even going to say it. Anyways, he always does what I call clickbaity titles, because he makes his thumbnails, which, like, people can think of it as smart or clickbaity, however they want to, but he'll be like, Nicola Bully's husband was arrested, right? And then he'll be like, whatever. And so, of course, people are now clicking on that because they're like, what do you mean Nicola Bully's husband's was arrested? And he's like, and then, of course, when he gets into it, of course, he goes, so a lot of people out there are saying Nicola's husband was arrested, but let me tell you, but he uses those type of titles to get you to click on him, first of all. Now I find that a bit clickbaity, but whatever. It's not, still, because he's still talking about what he put in the title, but he does it that way. Clickbait is when
some people don't even mention it. Those are the worst, because at least he's like addressing it. Some people just clickbait something, and then you go in the video and you're like,
it's not even nothing.
Where is the video? Where's what you said? Yeah. I was gonna see it. Yeah, I hate that. I really dislike that.
I will agree. Yeah, I will agree that I do think the Dateline episode was a little silly. Like I said, I think that, there were a few little things
factual
that were good, and the rest of it was filled with conjecture and kind of recycled B footage in my. But and Fibro, I agree. I think the glove that was found like near the garbage cans in the snow by Chris.
That was a cop. I think that was just the cops.
Yeah, that is not. That's, to me, is nothing. What I'm talking about with the gloves is the latex gloves that Brian was wearing in Pennsylvania.
Right. Well, exactly, because the one that was found by Chris McDonough. Yeah, from the interview room. Like that one. I mean, whatever. Like maybe he saw it there and thought, hey, that. Maybe somebody just put it there and whatever, or maybe it was more of a thing for, views or whatever. And I came across this glove. I don't know, who knows, but the gloves, when my only thing is this. So here I thought KD was the BG, right? I had all this stuff that just lined up with it. KD on the cryptic note, Garrett Kurt's friend, everything was fitting just like a big ass puzzle. And yet I was wrong about who the BG was. It still made perfect sense with so many things to me, and so now I kind of keep my brain in check a little bit there, knowing that as I go with my gut. Okay. And wearing gloves, taking his trash over to a garbage can, all the pinging, the sheath, all that stuff. To anyone that looks guilty, there's going to be a slim chance that he's not guilty, a very slim chance. So, but I do try to keep myself in a little bit more check with knowing that what always seems to be. But at the end of the day, I trust my gut first and foremost on things. And so even if, like I said, it's not 100%, but when I get a gut feeling, and from Kohberger, there's just, it's like, even Kagan Klein, there's so much crap to show that Kagan Klein has something to do with Delphi, yet they haven't proven anything. And so then it makes you start wondering, well, was it just a freak accident that it all lined up so freaking ass perfectly?
Right.
But I don't feel that way. So with Kohberger, again, until proven guilty, but to me, I just think that there's a pretty good darn case against him myself. I believe he is guilty. I don't believe that there was anybody else involved in it myself. If there is, then so be it. Then I'm wrong again.
Luckily for me, I'm European. So, and like in France, everybody's guilty. I mean, you go to jail before you prove. So to me, he's innocent. He will try to prove. I mean, he's guilty. He will try to prove that he's innocent. I mean, the U.S. is backwards. They innocent until proven guilty.
Well,
for us, it's backwards.
It truly is, because when people keep saying that, I actually kind of roll my eyes when I hear innocent until proven guilty, because like they say, and when they explain it, no, you have enough against you to show that that there's all this that you're guilty, and so you have to prove that you're innocent. So it is like this whole innocent until proven guilty. It's like a cockamamie shit thing that people keep saying. Well, innocent until proven, really? Because when you're in jail and if you're innocent but you're in jail, you're not looking so innocent until you prove it otherwise. And that's the sad thing.
And also his actions, because and this comes from psychology, and this is psychology. And again, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not planning to say I am one, but think about it. If you are not guilty, you are standing in front of the judge, and the whole world is watching you. The first thing I would be is like, hey, I am going to plead not guilty. I'm not guilty.
Here's my
I think the silence, and I think it's a tactic. I don't think it has to do with power. I think it's a legal tactic that he used it.
I think it's good.
But I personally believe that if he was innocent, I would be like, I don't care what you're saying. I'm just going to say I am not guilty because I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I have two things quickly. Tony says he's getting off. Watch this space. Did he do it? I have no idea. Tony, if he gets off, I will film a reaction video of me finding out for you. But the other thing I have to say is I think that everything with Bryan is about power, and I'm not a psychologist, of course, and control. I think more control than power. But I believe when Bryan was in a situation like he was on Monday, where he was in court, he's not in control, and I think we saw some of that uneasiness at different times throughout that arraignment. But it conflicts with, I think, the fact that he also enjoys kind of being the main star a little bit. And I found it interesting, of course, you'll find parallels where you want to find them sometimes. But who else stood silent when they were with BTK, who we know he studied quite closely?
I think he is freaking a copycat in a lot of ways of BTK myself. He really has come off a lot like I bet you any money he freaking had that book in his house, in his freaking apartment, the BTK book. I bet you any money.
It was required reading when he took Ramsland's class.
Oh, well, I bet you he has it in his house. And can I say what stood out to me and Adam? Because I didn't really give you a chance because we started talking about something else. So for me, when I was watching Kohberger in court, besides watching his jaw clench and his funny jaw movement as he's doing it from the side, what I noticed, what stood out to me was, when someone's being really attentive to the paperwork all of a sudden, it's almost like he's staring at, because you can tell that his lawyer has the paperwork and she's kind of holding it up and she's kind of, holding it up like this and she's kind of pointing to the line. But that to me is what struck me as odd, is almost like it's like he was focusing kind of hard on the paper all of a sudden, almost like when if somebody's guilty and they're looking at you in the type of thing, and they have a hard time looking at you because they know you're lying to you. That's how I took that when he went to the paper. It was kind of like he started heavily kind of just staring at that paper going very intently, like
deflation.
Is that what
like
you call that?
Put your attention somewhere else. The distraction.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's kind of how I took that when he was looking at the paper. All of a sudden it's like, instead of kind of whatever giving off signals, I'm just going to stare straight at that paper there, But when before that point, it was just kind of, like I said, you're just watching his little jaws clenched there. And you know what? I know it could be wrong, and maybe he does that all the time because he said he had a tick, but you can just tell he does that with his mouth. And when somebody
But
is
he
doing,
didn't do it last time when he was in court, and we were able to see him. I mean, he swallows. I mean, that last time he was swallowing a little, but he didn't do the clenching. I mean, I went and I saw it back, and he didn't do like he
now
did it this time.
I'll go back to Adam in a second, but Adam and Alexa, when I saw him come in the court, I didn't take him as being soft. He kind of reminded me of that guy that freaking has pec guns coming in, and I know he has shackles on, but it's like his shoulders were straight up, and he was kind of like coming in like that brute through a door, like chest puffy a little bit there. That's what I saw.
This time, I mean, to me, no. I told you that, and then we'll go with poor Adam that he wants to give his. No, to me, I took him that this time he was less arrogant. Even I don't think he was as erect, as straight as he was the last time. Because even when he's walking like. Look at his shoulders; they're down. Last time he was like this. He was like a peacock last time, in my opinion. I mean, I could be. I'll rewatch it, but I think he was a little bit softer this time than last time we saw him. My opinion. Sorry.
I felt like he was grasping for sure what he was like that. This was like, like when they say present, I get what they meant by that. Go ahead, Adam.
I mean, I'd have to rewatch it. I mean, just from what's in my mind right now, I would tend to agree with Alexza as far as I felt like he was less rigid in his appearance this time when he came into court. But I would have to look at the two together because I mean that's been since January since I saw the first one. But then as far as like the rest of the arraignment, I mean I kind of already said what I believe, and I really did agree a lot of the things with what Alexza was saying about when I think some of it might have been him being annoyed with the judge kind of messing up the script, kind of messing up the moment that he'd been playing out in his head, and that I think goes into what I was saying about when someone likes to be in control, they will go over even other people's actions, and then when they don't fit in line with what they thought something was going to be like, it's an annoyance to them. Either that or there's something from that night that we don't know about that triggered something in him. Maybe the fact that we know Xana put up a fight. Yeah. Maybe that caused him to, react slightly differently to her name. And then same with Ethan. Maybe he reacted slightly different to his because he didn't expect him to be there. Yeah. Or because he felt a bit of remorse. Right. Or he felt a bit of remorse because, he ruined the whole fantasy, and he was collateral.
Well, I think though, from the first time that he entered the court, that was all new to him. So he was kind of like scratches on his face and he kind of looked whatever. And then this time coming into court, he seemed a lot more sure of himself coming in. Because now he's like Cake and Klein. Well, I've already done like this many months. And, it's almost like then you start getting attuned to your surroundings more so. Whereas when we first saw him, I feel like, he was kind of portraying that arrogant walk coming in and stuff like that, dealing, looked over at the media type of thing. But that to me was like when you're, when something first happens and you've never really had to experience it, and then you're experiencing it, going back and forth to the jails, and you're not used to the whole freaking jail life. And then all of a sudden, after so many months goes by, it's like, it just probably becomes almost like second nature now. Okay, court date.
Yeah. I know that I haven't watched it yet, but I do know that my friend, the Inquisitor, who's a great YouTuber, did a video on the Dana Smithers case that Bryan Kohberger is being, suspected of being linked to. So I'm going to drop that link in there for anyone that wants to watch it.
That'd be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I've not watched it yet. I just saw he posted it.
Who did?
The Inquisitor.
Okay, yeah. Because I remember when Daniel and they did that. I remember when they did it. And at the time I was just like, I can't be asked, because I'm at the time I'm kind of thinking, he doesn't have anything to do with it, whatever. probably it's just, but then when you realize that it's like with like that close, like I just didn't pay attention to it. I know that the boys had done a show on it, but I just didn't. I was just like, yeah, I don't feel like going into left field too far here, So I never really did.
I mean, that could be wrong, I will say, but I don't think so. I don't think he has committed a crime before. I mean, maybe little ones, yes, but this kind of no, not with what. Obviously, we don't know the whole thing, but with the little pieces that I see, that I heard that he did, no, I don't think so.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you as far as homicide.
Yeah.
But I'll be interested to watch Inquisitor's video to see what I think with that case.
Inquisitor always does good videos.
Yeah. He does a good job.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he took, I mean, I think that was in the Dateline that I remember. I think it was on. I read the transcript, but I'm getting confused. But I think it was where the friend asked him to put the cameras, and then he used the cameras, to spy on the friend. I mean, that kind of behavior, I do think he had. I think he was the type of personality that he would get kind of like stalky. I think he has that personality. I mean, obviously, he seems to me, he looks like, I should say, like one of those creeps that, you just say hi, and then, he's probably thinking, you're going to marry me. You know what I mean? That's how I view him.
Even look at the way he looked at the female police officer that pulled him over for going through that red light, or the officers that pulled him over in Indiana when he was tailgating. Like there's an intensity to him. That's all. Definitely.
Yeah. And I mean,
how are we? 3 hours. Sorry.
I know we're gonna get going here in just a second. Let's just do final thoughts, really, because it's been 3 hours, guys, and Alexza probably is, like my ass.
I'm glad. I mean, my internet so far so good on my phone. It's been working. I haven't done it. Yeah.
It's been excellent.
Yeah, and I'm
but
so
I
glad.
Still don't have it at home, but hopefully tomorrow.
Well, I mean, I'm definitely glad you could come talk with us about it being, profile.
I mean, the one thing I want to do is I want to watch the Dateline. I think that one is going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah.
And see what new. I mean, obviously, Adam saw it and everything, but I do want to see it to see what's the new, how to resonate the new information with what we already know.
Yeah.
We already know.
Yeah.
And don't forget, Drunk Turkey, Daniel should have sent you also the other video. And then perhaps maybe we can get your input, not just on pure the body reading part type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Without we can talk about the body, like the reading part like that.
Yeah, the body language.
Yeah. If you think someone's being truthful or if they're, whatever, right? Do what you do best, because I'm looking forward to watching these. So we're going to get going, you guys. Adam, did you have any last thoughts?
No. I mean, other than, thank you everyone for being here tonight. Thank you for Daniel and Blue joining. And of course, thank you for Alexza. I could listen to Alexza's analysis for hours and hours. So thank you very much.
No, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. It's just all very interesting because, like I said, Alexza's done this work, right?
16 years.
Yeah. So, at the end of the day, it's kind of like everyone. In hindsight, you can usually go everyone has their thoughts. It doesn't mean like Alexza's going to be right on everything. Of course not, right? We can listen to a bunch of different profilers say a bunch of different stuff, but at the end of the day, you're doing with the knowledge that you have. That was your career. And then you go back in hindsight, will always tell you, well, hey, was I right on this or was I wrong? Because at the end of the day, like I said, we're not everyone's mind readers and whatever. You can only just take what, what, like I said, your skills are, to being a criminal profiler, body language, handwriting, and stuff like that. Besides what you've taught us, I would know way less,
Exactly.
So, If only we could ever get Deb's husband on a live, psychologist, profiler, blah blah blah.
That would be good. I mean, the psychologists are better because obviously they can, as in criminology, you do take a lot of psychology, but you don't. Obviously, we don't have the degree of psychologists.
Yeah, if I had to go back and reverse my life, I would definitely have been a psychologist. That's definitely one thing I really like doing. I love hearing people. I love, even if they're a really bad person, it's what makes them tick. For me, I find it very intriguing that why someone did what they did, or just how people even just to look for those cues of those shows where somebody's talking to somebody and then they're determining because of their skill set if they're lying because they have so much more knowledge and schooling of movements of like you said, and I felt the same way, Alexza. When he smiled, I felt the same thing too, that was a more genuine smile because his side thing went up. Meaning it was a natural kind of
it was a real smile.
Right. And so, like you said, but you guys, like I said, are more in tune with all the different things. Yeah. If somebody's shifting their eyes, doing this or whatever. Anyways, you guys, great live. Thank you so much. Hi, Luna. How are you? And Daniel and Kim. Daniel from the Drunk Turkey Show. We're talking about, and if you're talking about Kim, the Kim that was on the Drunk Turkey Show, I'm not sure at all. Yeah. Again, each to their own.
Yeah. And for everyone that's been here, Sharon Parker, you've been here since before we even started. But thank you for joining us the whole 3 hours. We appreciate you guys so much. And thank you for joining again. And also thank you to Diana SZY for joining as well.
And Sharon Parker, right, for becoming members. Sharon was, and then she just renewed it, I believe. Yeah. And then, but anyways, and then of course, rest in peace to Tina Turner, 83 years old. She was iconic, of course, Tina Turner. Anyways, you guys, how old Cher? Cher must be up there too.
Yeah, she must be around that age, right?
Do you think Cher's gonna crack 100? Do you think Cher?
She still looks good. I saw an interview with her recently, and she still looks amazing. Surgeries and all, but very sharp. Still, the brain, which is the most important one, it's still very sharp.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So. Again, anyways, you guys, God bless. We'll see you next time we see you here. Next Friday night, of course. That one, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how that goes. And because it's kind of like there's Delphi stuff I still want to talk about. But I want to watch this Dateline stuff as well, and like I said, the other one, Alexza, just to see about the movements and stuff like that, and your thoughts. But okay.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
This is Sunny Justice and Aspen Connor from It's a Crime and Shame, wishing you all a good night.